RotoGrinders, Dean here, Dean7904. That is that's the daily fantasy handle I so cleverly gave myself like 10 years ago or something like that. Good Lord, has it been that long? I think it has. Back in the days of the old Draft Street. And remember, if you're old enough, maybe Blender recalls. I don't think he does. I feel like you're post this. There was once a chat, Blender, on Fanduel. Do you remember this? Are you aware of this?
No, I wasn't, but I could just imagine.
It was just everybody trolling and like, yeah, it would just be like Judge Dong and like, and then I fooled you. He struck out.
Or with the NBA, could people do like Giannis is out?
Yes.
He's out, right? There was those type of stuff.
It was the worst, but the best. You know, it's the best and the worst, and it's I don't miss it, but you get a little bit in small doses, I suppose. But that's way back in the day when I think like Head Chopper and Beer are like two of the very first players apparently on FanDuel as well, and
that's how they met. They met in FanDuel chat.
Is that true?
No, I'm just saying that could be true.
It's certainly possible. I'm not really sure. They might have been in a live final.
You don't think that there were like maybe people met via FanDuel chat and got married, like Match.com or something?
I mean, what would that be called? But if not Match, what would be the term be? Like, what would the site be? What would the app be?
eHarmony, something with.
But there's a more clever way of like working in sports and gambling in DFS, right? I don't know.
It's plenty of fish.
Yes. Especially back in 2012, there were plenty of fish.
Right. It's the same thing. Who cares, right?
Yeah, but no, your opponent, and I'm sure I was a fish back in 2012 as well too. Some would say I still am, Blender. You probably say that. You play
guys that are through this, and you want to play these 1-1-1-1-1 stacks, and yeah, I'll FanDuel chat you because of that.
We got 2 hours, 2+ hours if you include the crunch time crew of MLB DFS talk, taking y'all straight up to lock. 7:05, I believe, is lock time. Yeah, 7:05 is Toronto, Baltimore. Then a bit of a gap as far as the Cubbies versus Cincinnati. Just a 6-gamer. Blender, man, if you got any stories, any anecdotes, today's the day to share them, man. We got an hour.
We'll have plenty of time. I went first off, obviously the thumbs, even though they're disappearing because of the green screen. So if you're in the chat, I see you chat people on YouTube. Feel free. We're going to kill a lot of time. So if you want to talk about anything, post in the YouTube chat. But Dean, this NFL season, we're going to be spending a lot of time together. Yeah,
some would say too much time, but definitely we're spending some time. We're going to be doing a Twitter Spaces, which I'm told that's the hip kids are doing these days. We're going to be doing it on Sunday, basically tilting the last hour of the slate, give or take, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, whatever it is. I don't do have an official start time. I'm not really sure, but we'll be coming on for an hour or so and hosting a Twitter Spaces, and I'm told it's interactive and that people can join us. I've never actually hosted one. I've been a guest on one before, and I think you drew the short straw. I think you're hosting. Is that correct? Or
I don't even know. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just showing up. I don't know. I think I'm doing it on my phone. It's just audio, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Right. Okay. I could do it. I could be on the couch on my phone. Okay, that's easy work for me.
I think. Well, that's actually I didn't think about that. Yeah, I guess we could theoretically watch on the. Because I was thinking about what kind of setup I would have, and I would probably have my iPad with the Red Zone channel or something like that, and maybe a side monitor. But okay, yeah, maybe we can just. It is just on the phone, isn't it? It's not.
Right,
it's not
just on the phone, right? We can do it naked if we want.
Well, I mean, look, you could do whatever you could wear whatever you want or wear whatever you don't want. Apparently, I was going to summon my Blender voice, but I somehow passed. And yeah, we have no title for the show just yet, but we are going to be spending a lot of time. We will be getting to know each other pretty well. Yeah, and this show will be spending a lot of time. We're here for an hour and a half until we yield to the Crunch Time crew. I believe it's Keith Eyster, who he did write a Scores and Odds article, a free one up today. Scores and Odds, of course, our premium product. We do have some free articles for the people. I'll go ahead and copy and paste that. I believe there's 2 out there. Creighton has some NFL player props for week 1. Is it centric to the no, not just the Thursday night game, but there is the Thursday night play. And are you doing some of the showdown? I assume you're doing some of the showdown shows.
Yeah, some, not as much as last year. Last year it seemed like I was on every Monday and Thursday, and you just get burnt out on this stuff. But since I've taken on some of the MMA stuff, so obviously the MMA Ground and Pound that we record on Thursday that comes out on Fridays, and then I'll also be doing a premium show only for premium members with Tuttle. And that's a game theory, game stacks advanced level show. Some of the tools in the theoryofdfs.com I will be showcasing in there, how to utilize a lot of that to make lineups and combinations, combinatorics, those types of things.
What was that last word? I got to get up my thesaurus. What'd you say?
Combinatorics.
All right, you got to say that slower and spell it for me. What is that word?
Well, that's why you got to tune in. You got to get the theoryofdfs.com. Dean, did you know that I put out an advanced course a week and a half ago?
I did. I didn't graduate magna cum laude or whatever, so I have no clue what word you're saying to me. But yeah, we talked about it previously, and I remember I asked you about the usage because I know you do it with James, you do an audio version, and apparently you have all the usage in the world, and James just kind of chimes in every once in a while.
Yeah, but this time, James outdid himself. He made up for it. So I did all the audio. So it's about 6 hours worth of audio. It's very condensed. Like, I don't know how much more I could explain past that. And it's for people that have been playing regularly. So if you don't understand the basic concepts of DFS, game theory concepts of DFS, I would suggest the first course before you do that. But this course comes with Excel tools. Now, you go, okay, Excel tools. Oh, that means I don't need RotoGrinders. Like, no, you need projections. You need a lineup builder. But these Excel tools do functions that don't exist, or either don't exist anywhere, or take you ridiculous amount of time to do it manually in Lineup HQ. So like James he's an Excel wizard. So he built these 7 tools, some of which, admittedly, I mean, if you may be passed, you may not need a bankroll tracker. You may use some other software for that. You may track it yourself. But trimming your portfolio, if you want to make 3,000 lineups in Lineup HQ with 300 builds at a time, different constructions, different types, we have a tool that you export that all into Excel, and then you could sort by anything. You could trim by anything, set thresholds. It has a smart trim function that adjusts, it selects lineups based on projection and ownership. And then we also have a portfolio correlation matrix, which will be one of the main tools that I'll be showing off on the premium show, where Dean, it's a spy tool. You could spy on your opponents. It does 2 things. For the main reason to use the portfolio correlation matrix is that if you're playing, let's say, 20 lineups, and you don't realize that, let's say today you're playing in baseball. This works for all sports. Let's say you don't realize that I'm playing 50% Christian Javier, and I'm playing 50% you Darvish, and you don't realize that, yes, you have 50% exposure, but like you have Darvish and Javier in like 10 out of your 20 lineups, and the other 10 you have neither of them. And the exposure may look like, oh, that's exactly what I want, but those aren't the lineups that you necessarily wanted. So it's a way to analyze your portfolio to see the correlation of players in lineups to each other. And now that's good for figuring out the diversification of your portfolio.
Some would say, Blender, it's lineups, not players.
That's correct. That's very correct, Dean. But the thing is,
it's almost like I took your course.
Yes. But also, Dean, it's a spy tool. Okay? People
Can I guess what that is?
You could use it to spy.
Can I guess what that is?
What?
Can I guess what that is? I don't know.
Guess how you could spy on your opponents with the portfolio correlation matrix.
Now, is this okay, I know there's like something for like head-to-head stuff, and it's actually very clever to use. If you see you're behind in a head-to-head and you know your opponent, it'll let you know you have like your opponent's got 1 player left. They have $6,800, whatever. And you can look at it and you can say, okay, this is very likely the player that they happen to have. I'm 6 points behind them. This is the best player. I have the same player. No matter if this player scores 1,000 points or 5 points, I'm going to lose because I can't catch him up if we're both the same person. So I'm supposed to swap off the somebody that's even suboptimal just because that's the only way I can catch up to him. Now, is that what it is, or does this have to do with
that? Would be very useful, and it's a good thing that already exists. You could download the RotoGrinders Chrome extension, and it could show you that. So, like that exists, but that's not what I mean by spying.
Okay, you expanded on that.
No, I didn't. It has nothing to do with that whatsoever.
Go ahead.
Okay, so what you do is that based on the ownership and the stack configurations and anything, whatever sport you're playing, this could work for NBA. Try to build the lineups that your opponents are playing based on their projections. So, for instance, if you're using the RG projections, build 300 lineups, and like for today's slate, put in all the high-owned players. Set a cap for them, right? You're essentially trying to build the field that you're competing against and the likely combinations of players. So let's say in baseball, okay, 30% will have 5-man stacks. So build 5-man, build 300 lineups or whatever with 5-man stacks with 50, whatever the ownership for Darvish is, whatever the ownership is, and try to like mold it together. So like, if you're using the RG projections, this is most likely the lineups that you'd be creating. Then you could even do that with other people's projections, right? You could go to, there are other places around. We know the other places. Maybe you grab some of those.
This isn't a monopoly? Is that what you're saying?
What?
This is not a monopoly, RotoGrinders?
No, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not a monopoly, right? Maybe you aggregate them. Maybe you use the bat projections. You use Cardi's bat projections. You use the RG projections. You use an aggregate of them. And essentially, maybe you build 3,000 lineups. Maybe you build 6,000 lineups. Maybe you only build 300, but the more the merrier. And you're trying to build, basically, I'm competing against these types of lineups. And if people are using optimizers incorrectly and not making their own strategic decisions, you're going to get a lot of clumps of players together. So let's say you do that. Let's say you build 6,000 lineups. You could import all 6,000 lineups, 300 at a time from Lineup HQ into the portfolio correlation matrix, and it will show you the R2 value, the R squared value of every player to every other player in that lineup portfolio. And it also has a column for variance factor, which means it'll weigh all the times two players are to each other in a pool of players and give you the most likely ones that are together. So the higher the variance factor means, the higher that those two players appear together, which means once you spy on your opponents, you could go, well, can I make lineups that have a similar projection and a similar ownership that don't share those? Not only the player, like everyone thinks in terms of, well, I don't want to play the high-owned player, right? This is more in terms of, how do I not play the high-owned combinations of players, 2s and 3s, and you're still playing, you possibly are still playing some of the chalkier players, but you're avoiding, well, if you play this guy, most likely you're playing that guy. And if you're playing this guy, you're more likely to play that guy. And then maybe you go into Lineup HQ and you use the groups function. You go in and go separate these two, separate these two, separate these two, and then build lineups. And then maybe you get lineups that have similar projections, similar ownership, that isn't like ridiculous. They're not crazy lineups, but you're avoiding so many of these player combinations that you could still have a high projected lineup and do really good. It's still have a high ownership some lineup, but because you're avoiding the combinatorics of your portfolio are way different than the combinatorics of your opponent's portfolio.
Oh man, is this going to be on the quiz?
Dude, Dean, go to RotoGrinders leaderboard. If you go to the RotoGrinders leaderboard and you can look at the top 25, you're going to find like a good 80+% of the top 25 are people that have like degrees in like mathematics and finance and, of course, and the computer programmers, and so that's who you're competing against. So the least I could do is give you some Excel tools that will make it easier to compete against people that are running algorithms. Like this is what an algorithm would be doing. So you get to kind of do it on a more simplified level, even though people in chat are like I don't know about this. Oh,
just give me the winners. Who's going to pitch good tonight?
I can't see. Is he showing Pascal's triangle? Is that? I did not. That's literally what it's called, right? Pascal's triangle.
I'm aware of Pascal.
Okay, you probably learned about this in probably like maybe sophomore year of high school, and then like maybe first or second year in college. And it's combinatorics, but it could be used in turn with probability.
Are you getting paid like $20 every time you use that word? You're just crowbarring it in every single time.
Combinatorics? What? It's the word of the day. It's like Pee Wee Herman. It's like Pee Wee's Playhouse. Ah!
Oh man, somewhere Cherry appreciates your reference, but we lost the 20-year-olds on that one. I don't think Pee Wee is that still playing anywhere these days. I couldn't tell you. I don't know, but I did watch that back in the day. I was a big fan. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I was a Globey guy. Were you a Globey guy? Sure, maybe. Why not? Hey, what's up, chat? I see the chat's having a good time. You mentioned chat. Do kindly hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. If you scroll up, I did drop the free articles we happen to be having today on the old scores and odds, Creighton's picks, as well as he'll be joining us later. But, oh, man, my computer is acting funky again. What is going on? We got some picks from
are you still at Grant's house, by the way?
I am not. No, he eventually, the squatting ran its course. I'm no. But speaking of Grant, like you just to kind of back up your point, you were talking about the top 25 people, whatever it is, certain percentage or math. But he's got an accounting background. STL Cards is an accounting background. Like clearly, sports obviously, sports brain helps. But there are some people, I can't remember the names. Some people that don't even watch sports, don't even care for sports, and I don't think you watch a ton. I think you like some. Like soccer is your favorite, right? But as far as actually watching baseball, how much baseball do you really watch outside of the AEW softball game you were at?
Yeah, but I think last season I may have watched. I literally watched no basketball game.
Do you think it? Yeah, like you could probably make the argument, and I suppose it goes both ways. It's like baseball is so much numbers driven and understanding a multitude of numbers and ownership and probabilities and all that. What is your real edge? I just enjoy watching the games. I like watching the games. I like getting a feel for what's going on, and like you see who's hitting the ball hard. And of course, you can see all that stuff if you go like on Baseball Savant. You can check that stuff out, or go on Fangraphs. You can dive anywhere. Look at the plate.
Or you could go on Plate IQ here at RotoGrinders.
Yeah, I'm a company man. I got it in there. I made sure to mention it.
You're talking about if we have a monopoly, whatever. Now you're acting like that, like everything else exists, not us.
I made sure to get. I talk up Plate IQ all the time. It is my favorite tool on that and the Lineup HQ tool. Like that's the two things I use tremendously. By Cheyenne is in chat asking about do we have? I'm not sure what's the tool she was asking about specifically, but for basketball, like of course we have basketball tools as well. I don't know. Basketball season is about
7 weeks away. 7, I think.
I think it's the 19th. I was looking at it yesterday. The 19th of next month is a 2-game slate, and then it's like a 12-gamer, and then a 2-gamer, and a 12. I hate that first week, because they could be 2, then 12, then 2. Tuesday and Thursday is 2 games, whatever it is. But looking forward to that, obviously, and the 2 weeks in between when baseball's over and basketball hasn't started yet is that's you get to relax for a little bit, because then you're all you have is football, such to concentrate on. We got the last month of baseball, of course, which I believe ends on a Wednesday this year, which is kind of weird. Every team plays like at 3:00 East Coast time, Wednesday, like the 5th or something goofy like that of next month, which traditionally I think the season used to end on a Sunday. Anyways, we care. This is daily fantasy sports. We care about today and today only, Blender. Why are we talking about basketball and the end of the baseball season? Who brought that up?
Well, I don't know. We only got 6 MLB games.
that is true. There's not and we're not even going to go around the horn. You'll just cross your arms in protest. We're not going to go around.
I'm building my lineups now. I'm playing personally. I'm playing 5 lineups tonight. Okay. All small field contests. I'm playing the 250, the 121. I think 3 entries into the 88. And I'm running lineups right now. Let's see what's going on. Right. I think obviously what I said right in the very beginning. The chalk at pitcher is Javier and Darvish.
Of course.
And I think that's pretty clear. I mean, we have it seems like half the pitchers on the slate are barely going to pitch or don't have pitch counts or something. I mean, like Cole Reagans and Dean Kramer and Corey Abbott. It seems like really it doesn't seem like there's much pitching today outside of Javier and Darvish. I mean, I guess Montgomery.
You got Manoa and Montgomery as well.
Right. I guess Montgomery, right. But I mean, it just seems like half the pitching pool, he just X out.
Yeah. And like, I was curious to get your thought on that, because we're going to get some crazy ownership on stuff. Javier Assad's throwing baseballs tonight for the Cubs. It's kind of the same setup we had yesterday, 2 bad offenses and 2 not very good pitchers. And the offenses won out last night. And I like some of the offenses again there, more so the Cubs, especially for homer hunting. We'll talk about that soon enough. The Cubs are cheap. Mike Minor has given up over 2 homers per 9 this season. Weather-wise, it's pretty neutral as far as the ballpark today. The wind doesn't seem to be terribly, it's blowing in like 5 miles per hour or something like that. That's basically what it was last night, but maybe to a little lesser extent. I can pull up the weather edge on the fly. But again, my laptop is acting really fickle for no particular reason. Morris is not a guy that's going to go terribly deep for Cleveland, like you mentioned. Abbott, I don't want any of that. Reagans is a prospect for Texas. He's supposed to be good, but in a small sample, he's walked more guys than struck guys out, that's a problem. That's just as a general rule. Things are not going to go well for you. That's probably going to change at some point. He eventually could be good. But again, we care about tonight, and he hasn't quite shown it just yet. Baltimore is a tough offense, so we'll talk about Manoa as a pivot. He's a guy that theoretically can strike out 8 or 9, but the Ks I feel like should be higher. They're just not. That's just what it is. You mentioned Wells opening up for Kramer. on the Baltimore side. And I think you're just going to piggyback, right? Maybe like 3 innings each, something like that. That's kind of probably the plan there, and where neither is playable. I'm not playing either one of those. I don't necessarily want to pick on Toronto either, which leaves us with, Christian Javier, who's got the highest K rate in the slate, like 35%, the lowest Sierra on the slate. He's the best pitcher on the slate. Is that somebody you love at 60% ownership, which we're going to see on DK? We got a roster too. But then what's the alternative is the follow-up question. And I'm just going to have a lot of Christian Javier.
Also, it's a matter of, even with the bats, is there anyone worth paying up? I mean, stack-wise, is there anything worth paying up for? I guess the Cardinals, the Astros. I mean, the totals aren't that high. I mean, like the Cardinals, the Astros, and the Padres will have 5 totals, but barely over 5. Toronto's fairly expensive, and they have a very low. They actually only have a 4 total. So, like, looking around here, it just feels like who am I paying for that I need to stack, like, dramatically? I mean, you could fit. I mean, there's enough cheapies that you could fit stuff in. I mean, if you don't want to play a Padres stack, I mean, it almost feels like, do you build an expensive stack and try out one of these cheap pitchers, or just pay up twice in pitcher and just find the bats? I mean, especially coming into September, we get the call ups and everything, and like it does. None of these high expensive stacks stick out that much to me that I'm willing to risk playing a SP2 that's like could get like no points. So
Hey,
like
Butter,
I
let me,
understand what the usefulness of it is, but I feel like it's a vomit stack type of day.
Butter, let me jump out and come right back in. My audio, my video is kind of goofy. I'll be back just a second. I think it's Brian Windhorst that's going, what is going on with my audio? What's up in Utah? I don't know. But I think maybe that's what's throwing things off, because that's what's happened the last couple of days, and that's the one thing I've changed. I've added a goofy picture behind me. But Blender, just hold down the 4. I'll be back in a minute. Is that cool?
Go for it.
Sweet. Thank you.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for Dean, obviously we want to get the thumbs up. Give us the thumbs. That adds to the show. I think it. I don't know if TJ's on crunch time or whatever, but I don't know. He's always begging for likes for Spidey bombs or something like that. So maybe that'll help. But pitching wise, I mean, to me, pitching is quite straightforward. You're playing Javier, Darvish, Montgomery, like 2 of those 3. Me personally, based on the bat projections, I prefer Javier and Darvish. But if you want to take a shot on, like, to me, like Greinke, Abbott, Kramer, Henry, Reagans, I could just throw out. Right? Do I want to play Greinke against the Guardians? Probably not. Manoa doesn't project that well. Manoa's underlying metrics aren't actually as good as his actual results. So I'm usually not a Manoa person. But yes, you're right. There are strikeouts. It's just that looking at these strikeout props, like outside of Javier and Darvish, like no one really. I mean, where's the upside for some of these pitchers? I mean, the Cincinnati Chicago game. To me, I like the bats in that game. Minor and Assad. I'm not scared of these pitchers, but they're also bad batting teams. So if you wanted to take a shot on Minor or Assad, I guess you can. Cody Morris. I don't know what his pitch count. Let me take a look at the bat pitch count for Cody Morris. Cody Morris, 75 pitches. Yeah, I mean, like, it's just hard for GPP purposes on a 6-game slate. Like a 75 pitch pitcher, like, gets into trouble 1 inning and like his upside's gone. He may not even get the win. He may not even go 5 innings. So it's like I need to prioritize guys that could pitch 90 pitches, could pitch somewhere close to it, right? At least Assad and Minor can, right? So I know Darvish and Javier are going to be very high owned on this slate, but based on what I'm seeing currently, like, they project so much better than everyone else. I mean, the bat has Javier at almost 23 as a median, Darvish at almost 21, Montgomery at around 18. Then it's just a drop to Manoa at 15, and then we start getting into 12s, 13s. Feels like if you're not going to play at least 2 of Javier, Darvish, and Montgomery, you're going to be sacrificing like a minimum of what? Minimum of 6 points projection, minimum 6 to 10 points in projection just by not doing so. And I just think there are enough bats on this slate that if I'm going to drop 6 points in projection, let it be through a low-owned stack. Let it be through 1 or 2 low-owned one-offs with the batters than a pitcher. Yeah, I say this, and of course, Javier and Darvish could get blown up. The other way to go on this slate is to don't play Javier and Darvish, and it's stacked against them because it's still a small enough slate that, the opportunity cost isn't as high. On a 14-game slate, you're probably not doing that. So I wouldn't put it past you. I think I'm more likely to play Arizona versus Darvish than Texas against Javier. I mean, the Texas total is the lowest. And Darvish, I don't know, may get more likely to get into trouble. Maybe. I don't know. But, I mean, if we take a look at the starting lineup for the Rangers, like, you got Semien, Seager, Lowe, Calhoun. So you don't have Noah Dolis Garcia anymore. This bottom of the lineup is awful. Ezekiel Duran is batting 6th. Bubba Thompson. And then we take a look at the Diamondbacks lineup. And there's some creative players in there, right? We got Rojas, we got Marte, we got Varsho and Alec Thomas. But, I mean, Corbin Carroll, I don't know who that guy is. I seriously don't. First time I've ever seen Corbin Carroll. Can he do anything? I don't know. And they got a ton of lefties. So if we take a look at the Diamondbacks, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only going to be one right-handed hitter that's going to be batting from the right side of the plate against Darvish. And then we look at the Rangers and how many lefties are in their line. It's mostly righties. They got Seager, Lowe, Calhoun, and Tavares will be batting from the left side. So I think I'm more likely if I wanted to get leverage by stacking a very, very high-owned pitcher, I think I'm much more likely to do it with Arizona. Dean, you're back.
What's up, Blender? Give me the cliff notes. My apologies. I'm hardwired in. Hopefully, we're going to power through. We're going to be good to go. I'm not really sure what's going on with my laptop. Pretty funky these last couple of days, but can you hear me all right? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can hear you. There's not many cliff notes. The cliff notes are Darvish, Javier, Montgomery. Play 2 of those 3 on DraftKings, and I said if you wanted to do the good old leverage, high relative value type of thing for strategic reasons, I think I would more likely to attack Darvish than Javier, just due to the fact that Darvish is essentially only facing one right-hander. So they're throwing 8 lefties at him. So I think I'm much more likely, if I were to do that. I'm not sure if I'm doing that at all. I'm building 5 lineups. I think with both 5 lineups, I'm going to have 2 out of 3 of Darvish, Javier, Montgomery, and then figure out the bats. To me, I'm much more likely to get different at bats today than kind of like spend up on these stacks. Like, are the Blue Jay stacks worth it? I don't think so. Right? We have the Cardinals. Yeah, well, you got Donovan and Newt Bar. Okay, so you can make it work with Dickerson in there. That may be worthwhile. And the Astros
those are going to be popular salary savers, though, right? Are those going to be some of the popular cheapies? I think.
Right, in those stacks. Well, I'd rather. I mean, it's weird for me to say, but I mean, based on the bat projections, the Reds and the Cubs, like these are not good teams, but they're very cheap, right? Compared to their total. I mean, I could build a red stack. You could build a red stack, 5-man red stack with Darvish, with Javier, and still have Machado and Soto in your line. And you could almost do the same thing with the Cubs. And they have enough positions. I think the Cubs are a little bit harder because they got 1, 2, 3. They got 4 outfielders in their lineup. So it's a little bit difficult because they're all bunched together. 2, 3, 4, and 6 are all outfielder only. Yeah. But the Reds are easy. The Reds have a second baseman, a third shortstop, and Farmer. They got 2 first basemen, so you can only play Steer or Solano, right? You
don't want to play either one.
I'm looking for the Reds to just take Javier Assad, right? Yeah. And just whatever, and they score 7 runs. Okay, it could happen. Maybe I play Chucky Robinson at catcher. Good old Chucky.
Does that person really? Do we have a proof of life on Chucky Robinson?
Let's see what he looks like. I'm going to look him up. Chucky Robinson. Chucky Robinson on the
Also, right. If you said, like, what position does Chucky Robinson say, and I had 8 guesses, I would not get the catcher.
Right, like, that just doesn't sound like a catcher.
Yeah.
He played for the Louisville Bats here in Louisville.
There you go.
AAA team.
You ever had
he's on the Reds, obviously, because that's the Reds AAA team, obviously. Okay. Obviously, that makes sense.
Yeah, that would make sense for sure. So let's just. I don't know if you're running on the ownership stuff or not. Like, I'm sure Devin's showing off the lineup HQ tool there. on the screen. For those that are watching on the old YouTube, kindly hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. And you don't want to just subscribe, just because you get the baseball notifications, but we have a plethora, jam-packed content this season as far as NFL. Myself and Rich Rebar and John Daigle, two of the finalists, the best NFL DFS, NFL analysts in the business, will be talking some NFL tonight, 9 o'clock. Kindly join us live or catch us on the replay. Yesterday, I know Britt and Will, Chief Justice, they did some props. I don't know if those props have since expired, but they were talking props yesterday. There's tons of shows. You talk about yours is premium. I'm a man of the people. Mine is for anybody. You don't have to be premium members. We appreciate the premium service. Keeps us in business, right?
I'm on every morning at 11 a.m. days a week. How much? I mean, you could find me anytime. Why did? Oh, I'm not the man of the people anymore.
Well, after 1 o'clock, you're not a man of the people.
Well, no, right, but you're the man of the people. See, Dean, you're on at like 5 p.m. Eastern, like every weekday, and I'm on at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah,
where I'm the man of the morning for the people. You're the man at night for the people.
What's changing, by the way, with NFL? I think you speak for yourself. I think Fridays you talk MMA, but with NFL around the corner, how are your show formats changing?
No, it's still Fridays are still MMA, and then Mondays are still games on, and we review the Sunday slate and go over any type of analytical stuff and look back in results DB and discuss general strategy. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday we play it by ear. So maybe on Tuesday review the Monday showdown. Thursday we talk about showdown. I mean, it's still it's pretty much no MLB anymore, right? NFL's back. Everyone wants to talk NFL.
You're done.
So,
this is like your last MLB show of the year.
No, I'm doing 2 more Grinders Lives this month, so you're gonna be stuck with me.
Sure.
I'll be the man of the evening, people, on occasion, right?
But
I mean, I'm not even playing I'm not even playing MLB. If it wasn't for the fact I'm doing the show, I wouldn't play MLB tonight. And of course, I say that, and then I enter like $1,000 worth of contests, but whatever. But I'm building lineups, and based on what I've run, and according to the bat, the top stacks, like I said, the Reds and the Cubs, then the Astros, in lineups with Darvish and Javier. So looks like a vomit stack. That's why I said it looks like a vomit stack slate. So if you're using the bat, you're gonna get a lot of Reds today.
Traditional general rules, arms are more predictable than bats. The arms fall off pretty quickly after Javier, after Darvish. Ownership, like you said, on DK, it's going to be super condensed. Looking at 59% for Christian Javier. It's not that hard to make that work. Darvish at 47%. You still compare the two. Jordan Montgomery's been really solid pitching for St. Louis since coming over for the Yankees. Not an incredible strikeout pitcher, but he's fine. And there's Alec Manoa. I don't love picking on Baltimore. I like Manoa in theory, but I wish the K's were a little bit stronger. He's still got something to play for. Obviously, Toronto's Baltimore. Basically, that yesterday they were talking about in the broadcast that being like a do or die game because I think Baltimore was 3.5 games now behind Toronto. They're essentially trying to steal a playoff spot from. I think Toronto will be the most likely candidate. Last I saw, they're maybe 15 or 20% as far as their chances to make the playoffs. But basically, Baltimore has got to get, they've been closing strong, of course, to start their season. They scuffled, but since calling up some of their players, they've been pretty good the last month or two of the season and making at least a run, making a shot. And they called up, the catcher. Why am I forgetting his name? Aldi and Gunner.
The only catcher that I know that exists today is Chucky Robinson.
Adley Rushman. I don't know why I just completely brain farted and forgot.
Oh, hold on, Dean. You have no problem with the guy's name being Adley. That's a real name. But Chucky with IE, Chucky Robinson, you have a problem with. Someone can't be named Chucky, but Adley, that's perfectly fine.
I've never named a thing before. I wouldn't really know where to start, but I probably wouldn't look at it and say, I'm going to call this thing Chucky, or I'm going to call this thing Adley. But
Chucky's a famous doll.
Yeah, well, it's spelled differently, and I wouldn't
Chucky.
think that. Yeah, but would you want your child to take after the characteristics of the? No spoilers here, but things go awry in the Chucky series.
There's Chuck E. Cheese. There's a lot of Chuckies. There's Chuck. There was a show called Chuck, a TV show called Chuck. Name me a show called Adley.
There's
no
E
show
in
called
Chuck E.
Adley. There's no nothing. You can't go to Adley's Furniture or something. There's nothing named Adley's.
Pop quiz, Blender. What does the E stand for in Chuck E. Cheese?
Everyone?
I think it's entertainment. I don't know why I know this.
What does I'm going to look that up. What is
I'm pretty sure it's entertainment.
Or
Yeah.
in Chucky Cheese?
I used to love Chuck E. Cheese as a kid. Yeah.
Charles Entertainment Cheese.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Those that know him informally, you call him Charles. If you're close, you call him Chuck. I think that's how that works. It's the the two in the ustedes form in Spanish, like the formal, informal. I think that's how that works with Charles and Chuck as well. Or I think at a certain age you become Charles, right? I don't know how that works. I think you're Chuck when you're younger. You become Charles. You grow into it.
There's a backstory. There's a backstory to Chuck E. Cheese, apparently.
You know that Chuck E.
According
Cheese,
to his backstory, he's an orphan. He's never had his own birthday. So instead, he fills the void by hosting birthday parties for everyone else. That's what it says here. I'm going to insider.com. It says he never had his own birthday. So that's
my
why
source for all things Chuck E. Cheese, insider.com.
Right.
So producer Devin is hard at work today, but he did find the time to put a poll up in the chat. Do you know what Dean is talking about? That's an evergreen poll question, I think. It could be about Chuck. Wait, does Devin not know who Chuck E. Cheese is, by the way? Or does he not know his middle name? He has to know who Chuck E. Cheese is, right? I feel like he does. I don't know. We'll never know. Maybe he'll respond in chats, but
how can I not know who Chuck E. Cheese is, Dean? Come on.
What you said? Do you know what I'm talking about?
You were like 3 layers removed, though, from who is Chuck E. Cheese.
I was telling you I watched his Behind the Music. It's the E stands for entertainment. That's all. I don't know. And that's just one of those fun facts. Well, fun in air quotes. That's up to your own. That's your own opinion, I suppose. But it's a fact that it's entertainment. And I'm sad to hear that Chuck E. Cheese is an orphan. I wasn't aware of his backstory, but he's making the best of his life these days. I want the final Chuck E. Cheese note for the people, and then they want more. They're on like Grubhub and those kind of sites under a different name, like Pasquale's. Like they're trying to pass themselves off as like a local joint, when it's actually Chuck E. Cheese pizza.
Denny's does that also. If you go on like Uber Eats or something, there'll be something at like 2 a.m. It's like the Hamburger Depot. And it's basically a rebranded, it's like an Uber brand, but it's really just hamburgers from Denny's.
Yeah, which, by the way, Denny's is like, well, the breakfast is fine. How do you screw up eggs? You just scramble those bad boys up, right? You can't screw up breakfast, I don't think. You tell me otherwise.
Well, I mean, if you're going to go any place to get breakfast, you go to Waffle House.
You got Waffle House ahead of Denny's? What about the IHOP?
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Of course you go to Waffle House.
Well, that's much more of a southern thing, I think, right?
Right. You get the all-American, whatever meal. You get the waffle, you got the eggs, the bacon, the hash browns. I
got IHOP number 1 in the power rankings. IHOP, it's probably remember they tried to pass themselves off as IHOB, International Alpha Burgers. Remember that?
I think that was a joke. That was a joke. That's the same thing. That's their version of Adley's. Right? They tried to just change it. Adley's instead of Chucky's.
Naked HD in chat. Yeah, you can DoorDash Chuck E. Cheese. I can't imagine you would, though. Can you DoorDash
the games, the skee ball or whatever? Can you get the?
I don't think you can do that. No. But J3 going off the board with Bob Evans, which I believe that's in the South as well too.
Right.
Yeah, and the poll is complete, and 59% of people in chat knew what I was talking about. There you go. Smash the over.
Over this weekend, Dean, in Chicago, me and my wife went out to eat one morning, a local place. Very similar, an IHOP style place, but much better. And you know who we were sitting next to at the next table?
Jim Ross.
No, no, but the Billy Gunn.
Okay.
Mr. Ass, one half of the New Age Outlaws.
I'm aware of his existence. He's still wrestling at like 50, right?
No, well, he's kind of managing. He's on the outskirts. He occasionally gets in the ring. But he didn't have 2 words for me though.
Well, did you have any? Oh, yeah, I got you. It took me a second. Yeah. Did you bother him? You don't want to bother.
No. We don't bother people. Like in those situations, if they're not like at an official event or anything, like we don't bother people. We may say hi. We may go, hey, like that type. We saw Mick Foley getting into the elevator. Hey, what Mick? That type of thing. When we went by, because if you watch AEW, he's now with the Acclaimed, and they do the scissor me, daddy, whatever. So we did the little as we walked by.
Family
we did
show,
scissors, and he did the scissors while he looked at us, hey, and did the scissors, and we went.
By the way, off the board, we didn't think about Cracker Barrel. I don't know if Cracker Barrel is like countrywide, but another Southern staple.
At the end of the day, you go to any of these places, and if you're just getting scrambled eggs,
they're all kind of
bacon, it's all kind of the same, right?
Yeah, it's fine. Again, how do you screw up eggs? You really can't. The sausage is always okay. The bacon's whatever.
Right.
But
just like, how could you screw up the pitching on this slate? Just play Javier, Darvish, or Montgomery. Just do that.
What about Manoa?
That's the bacon, egg, and cheese of this slate. You play 2 of 3. Get it. You don't like bacon? Just have an egg and cheese sandwich. You don't like the cheese? Just have a bacon and egg sandwich. You don't like the egg? Just have a bacon and cheese sandwich. It's a little bit weird, right? Just you got the 3 ingredients. Pick 2. Have fun.
Like Zach Greinke's like the English muffin, right? Nobody actually wants an English muffin. We're not playing Zach Greinke, right?
Zach Greinke is no. That's more like the buttered toast. Right? It's like, oh, do you want toast with this? It's like, not really, but if it's something to chew on, I guess you could bring it.
If you're gonna throw it on the table, I guess. But yeah, I don't need it.
That's like those are the Zach Greinke is the water they give you right in the beginning. Right here's a glass of water. Like, okay.
Alex says people can screw up omelets. Yeah, I never in my life have made a perfect omelet. Outside of like I cheat, I have a little omelet maker, but that doesn't count. But like actually like doing the flipping myself, I've yet to master it. It's one of those skills. It's not my repertoire, unfortunately. We can mention the other players that are throwing baseballs, but like your Reagans, we don't expect to go very deep, and the matchup is bad. Abbott, I have no interest in Abbott. Minor theoretically can throw 100 baseballs, and the Cubs are not good. So like if homering the fly ball works in his favor, and that's been his big issue this year, is yielding too many homers to over 2 per 9. If he can subdue homers, he's cheap enough where I think he's got to be at least in your pool if you're running 150. But I like you. I'm not making a ton of lineups. I'm going to concentrate on Javier, on Darvish. I might get some Montgomery. I might get some Manoa, but I'm just gonna. And I also don't. I'm not making lineups because I think I'm going to be 50,000 people. I'm making lineups where I'm hoping to be 500 or 1,000 in single entry, 3 entry max, that kind of stuff, or like like the Fanduel single entry stuff as well, like the 65 or the 25, things like that. That's what I'm more into. So I don't have to be. I'm not playing Dean Kramer and Zach Greinke and all that kind of stuff, but. We got anything else as far as pitchers? Again, we're here for the next 45 minutes or so. We can talk more breakfast. We can talk about what was that finishing maneuver, the scissoring maneuver? I don't know what the.
It's not a finishing maneuver. It's just that they do scissors.
Okay.
They scissor each other. They scissor. They go to scissors.
Yeah, fair enough. We can learn more about that. I did see. Well, I don't know if we have time. Well, we kind of do.
You don't know if we have time. You just said, "Oh, we have tons of time." I don't know if we have time.
I watched some of that CM Punk press conference, and like he just and I think it's legit, right? It's not. It's not a work. It's not a shoot, right?
It's not a work.
It's a shoot, and he's like going off on his coworkers essentially and being unprofessional, right next to the guy who owns the joint, Tony Khan, right?
And then went off and had a fight with people.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, and I guess that's going down tonight. I think they're show. I don't know what's happening.
It shows at 8:00 tonight. That's I will be watching. Let's relate that to what would happen if that was at our RotoGrinders. Right?
Who's most likely to
get into a situation where I'll be on the DFS pregame show. And I'll be saying, it's projections, right? And I'll go, and then people will be like, well, what about Cheese's article? It's like, well, he's just explaining the projections, right? So it's like, it's just a projection. Then, well, what about Dean with his 1-1-1-1 and
oh, come on,
whatever? And the next thing you know, I hear a knock on my door, and maybe it's I don't know who would come and beat me up.
Well, I mean, Dan Bach is Tony Khan, I guess, right? I don't know.
Right, but who would be coming to knock down my door?
I'm not sure. And there's going to be some foreign objects, I would imagine. Like you said, like somebody got hit with a chair, I believe.
Yeah. Someone got bit in the face or something. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I'd be curious to see what happens. Ratings would go up.
Right. Well, the only thing is I hope that the person at my door is not Beer Makers fan or Stevie.
They're both, those are both two pretty big dudes you don't want to have.
They're very big people.
Yeah. Grant's a pretty big boy as well, also.
Right, but not like Chris. Chris is, I didn't know because I just watched it say, his videos for God knows how long. And then we met at the Super Bowl party. I'm like, Jesus. You're humongous.
His whole family was like 6'5", like they're all big dudes.
I think he's like 6'8" or something. He's humongous.
Yeah.
And then
Cardi's
Stevie's like
tall.
6'5". I'm like, I feel like that. Then
Cardi's
obviously
6'6",
then we had JSU, and he's like a little midget.
He's not 6'5".
No, JSU is the opposite of that.
5'6", is that what you're saying?
I have no idea.
Oh. Yeah.
I ran some more lineups, by the way, because people are getting antsy because it's like, oh, we're not talking about baseball.
Well, okay.
So I ran some more lineups with the bat projections, but I limited this to like 20 percentage points per stack, right? So the top stacks that I'm getting are Reds and the Cubs, then the Astros, and then the Padres. So to me, based on these, it's like, to me, the odd team out is the Cardinals. And like, if I'm going to go for leverage, I am getting in my first 100. I still am getting some Arizona. So that kind of lines up with the fact that if I were to stack against one of these chalky pitchers, it probably would be against Darvish. But still, it's like, if you're going to jam in Darvish and Javier, like, you could stack the Cubs and the Reds, like, with no problem. Like, this first lineup that I have here has Machado, Pena, and Tucker in it, right? With a 5-man Red stack. And then I have another one with a 5-man Cub stack, and it still has Machado and Vlad in it. So it's not like even you're paying $10K for 2 pitchers. These are total vomit stacks, right? Because it costs like nothing to have 5 of these guys. So I'm just scrolling through some of this, and it's like, why don't I take a shot on the Reds? Right? I keep on scrolling through and like, take a look at the Astros. I mean, look at this lineup. I got a lineup. Okay. It's a 5-3 Reds lineup. Darvish, Javier, right? You got Chucky Robinson, Spencer Steer, Kyle Farmer, TJ Friedel, and then you round that out with a 3-man Astros, Altuve, Pena, and Jordan Alvarez. And you're still leaving 600 on the table doing that.
Yeah, I just ran. I'm using the bat projections. I capped the hitters at 54% for what it's worth, just to kind of get a shuffle.
54? How'd you get that number?
I just used the bar, and I didn't like type it in. Whatever I landed on, I landed on.
I have a very precise way to do that, Dean.
Well, okay. What do tell?
No, I'm just saying 50. If you just would have said 50, I wouldn't have said anything. But it just seemed weird that you must have. I'm like, Dean has a calculation to know exact like 50. Why?
It sounds like I know what I'm doing.
I wasn't trying to joke around. I was literally intrigued of like, how'd you came up with 454? And I was disappointed when your answer was, I just used the slider or wherever it ended up. It's like, okay. Now I stop listening.
So the only person in the land, by the way, to get the full 54% is these are optimal lineups with. I added some variants as well to it. I didn't put any stack rules in it for what it's worth.
Of course, it's your lineups. Of course, you wouldn't have stacks in
them. But the number one guy that got the all 54% was the leadoff hitter for your Cincinnati Reds, TJ Friedel, who's a 2.2K on DK on the road there. And Wrigley, Franmil Reyes has got the rainbow, by the way, as far as, if you look at our the tags in Plate IQ. He's got every single one as like a core play, as a best value play, and like he's terrible, but he's just crazy cheap. And we talked about Minor giving up home runs. When he actually does hit the baseball, Reyes still has plenty of power. Of course, it's been a down year. Cleveland just like threw him away. Chicago picked him up, and I'll have some just because. And I like homer hunting with the Cubs if nothing else. Happ is another guy that I think is pretty interesting as far as homer hunting. I think Suzuki's another guy who's gonna be popular too because he's pretty cheap, but. I was just curious to see what kind of shuffle we get. And we got Machado's being prioritized, which I think is interesting. And I wanted to see about Altuve because I think he's my favorite tournament play of the day. He's in 0 of these lineups for what it's worth because, second base has been bad and you're just punting and moving on like a guy like Madrigal. Massey is super cheap. Oh, he's at 11%. I can't read, but 11%. And, he's facing off against the lefty. Probably not going to stick around that long when he gets 2 at-bats versus the lefty there. He's in awesome form if you care about such things. He's been smashing the baseball. He's been stealing bases as well. Historically, just annihilates southpaws. We know about the Crawford boxes down the left field line. And I just think he's a good way to be a little bit different because some optimizers are going to point you in the direction of let's just save at second and hopefully Altuve isn't doing anything. We'll delegate our funds elsewhere. We're prioritizing Machado as well. Well, I like Machado also, but Just Altuve is one of my favorite plays on the slate. And I know you don't like to talk players specifically or like positions, but you can certainly look at second base and see he stands out amongst that grouping. Anybody on any given day, obviously, like Santiago Espinal could be the best player. That's just how it works sometimes in baseball. But
Lewis Brinson hit a home run the other day. He hit it yesterday. Didn't he hit a home run? A good thing I wasn't on that slate because that's like the only guy in the history of the world that I X out of lineup HQ no matter what the hell it's on. Right?
Did he hit
Lewis
like
Brinson's
3?
always that guy. Get out of here.
I didn't even know he was in the Giants. I saw him like Lewis.
Me neither
Brinson?
until I hit it. So I hit a home run. I'm like, good thing I didn't play this slate because I would have never had him.
He's done it in back-to-back games. And yeah, he was once upon a time, many years ago, was a huge prospect in the Marlins organization. It just did not work out. He was a disaster. He's probably like 30 now. Let's see.
They're saying in chat that Brinson has 3 home runs in 2 days.
Yeah, he had 2 homers versus the Dodgers, and then the next night he hit 1 homer versus the Dodgers, and whatever. He's hot and good for him. And I'm not sure if he's playing today or not. I did not play the day slate, and yeah, I didn't have him like Elvis Andrus homer too, like in back-to-back days, and I've not been on that nonsense. Like
Good thing I wasn't playing. Good.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I'm not going to roster those players necessarily unless I'm absolutely desperate. And I think just baseball variance, yada yada. But
I got Slate IQ up, by the way, Dean.
What do we got in Slate IQ?
Okay, I didn't even look at this before. Okay, so I just brought it up. The 2 highest leverage teams, which means they're based on our simulations at RG versus the ownership that we have for the field on these stacks. The 2 highest leverage stacks, Cincinnati and Houston.
Okay. Yeah, I can get behind Houston and Cincinnati. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to go full 5 on Cincy. I might.
Right. We have based on simulations the winning lineup, the large field GPP. Number 1, Cubs. Number 2, Astros. Number 3, Reds. I didn't look at this beforehand. Remember. Yeah,
and again, like I don't come at it from large field, and I understand why they're because their ownership's probably. What is the collective ownership there on the Cincinnati side?
Cincinnati total ownership 95%.
Okay.
Field ownership on the stack 8.49%.
Okay, and it's a 6-gamer, so like that's not
12 teams.
Yeah. In chat, and feel free to fire off whatever questions y'all have in chat. We're here for the next 30 minutes or so. We're breaking down this slate from all sorts of angles. Whatever y'all want to talk about, pick Blender's brain from a strategy perspective. He's one of the best, honestly, and he'll answer. He'll give you a 5-minute thorough answer if you ask a good question. He won't tell you like this guy or that guy. He doesn't know,
Well, I could. No. Dean, you always get this wrong.
What?
I could tell you this guy or that guy, but there's no context to that. So all I do is look at the projections and tell you which number is higher as far as the projection is concerned. But if you're a RotoGrinders premium member, right, click on that link in the description, get $10 off your first month. You would already get these projections. So all I'm doing is telling, I'm reading the same thing that you could look at. I mean, to me, that's the reason. It's not that I don't want to answer the question. It's just without context, I'm just going to tell you who's higher projected. And if you ask me why, I'm going to tell you I have no idea. The model does everything.
So, I mean, we don't have time to say, okay, this person has, they have a 4-man Cincinnati stack and a 3-man San Diego stack. Now, this guy or that guy, I understand that all that stuff matters, but like for the sake of efficiency, we don't have time to knock out those. And it's such a specific question that it's only helpful for one person. Everybody else is like,
but that's correct. But that's the only way I can give you the correct answer. Otherwise, they just give you. If you ask me the difference between 2 players, I'll just say, well, this one's projected for 8.6. That one's projected for 8.2. This one has an ownership of 19. This one has an ownership of 7. So it's like if you already have high-owned players in your lineup, play the lower-owned player. If you already have low-owned players in your lineup, play the high-projected player. I mean, like, you put me on repeat. Dean, you can record that message, and I can just leave, and you press the button, right? And then you have it play.
You mentioned having RotoGrinders Premium, and some of y'all have it, which is great, and you can use all the tools. But, hey, if you want to taste, if you want to wet the beak, how do you go and get yourself 1 week free of RotoGrinders Premium? Producer Devin, feeling generous, in a good mood. We have the robot that went ahead and dropped the link here in the Discord. Just all you got to do is hit this enter button, and you are eligible to win yourself 1 week free of RotoGrinders Premium. Looks like there's 10 minutes remaining. Is that correct? Wait, am I looking at this?
All you have to do is enter. We don't have to beat you in a head-to-head or anything. I see you doing that.
No, I'm going to run that back for football. I think I might actually have that like in the comments section. Well, I'll see. I haven't decided just yet. in the comment section of my Rebar and Daigle show. We'll talk about that later on tonight. But yeah, the hashtag beat Mean Dean. I did lose once. I'm like 4-1 or 5-1. But I was giving
How bad are the people? How bad are the people against you?
Yeah, you know, it's small sample stuff. You know, I'm going to lose the next 5, obviously. But yeah, go to RotoGrinders.com/Discord. You don't have to be a premium member, but just, you know, have some kind of RotoGrinders account. Just connect it to the Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Now you'll see Blender's Game Theory channel. Again, Blender, not a man of the people, premium channel only. This live stream chat channel, that's for everybody. Everybody can hang out in that. Just go ahead and literally click on the button and you're eligible. It'll let you know in a little bit.
Can I enter? Can I enter it?
I mean, you could click enter and you win, and then all of a sudden you're ruining it for everybody else. Like, what are you going to do?
I want a free month of RotoGrinders Premium.
It's a week for starters, and secondly,
I want a free week. I want the free week.
Are you going to repackage it to somebody else? Are you going to
No. What I'm going to do? I'm going to save. I want to save that week in my pocket. So when eventually years down the line, where I'm no longer part of the RotoGrinders staff, that I could use it then, so I don't have to pay. Because I paid for RotoGrinders before I was a host here, so it's not like I wouldn't be using the tools anyway. So I want to bank that week. I want to put it in like sick time. Like I got that week in my back pocket, so don't.
Before I put my 2 weeks, I just want to let you know that I have a week on layaway 3 years ago.
Right, I'm going to give my 2 weeks notice, but to me, it's 3 weeks.
There you go. Again, you were saying you are a man of the people, but like just that example suggests debatable.
I'm the man of some people.
The premium people.
I'm on in the morning, Dean.
I'm just giving you
5 hours a week. Feel free to bother me then.
Cheyenne in chat was asking the ownership for Montgomery. We got about 34% on DK, the third most popular. 9.2K on DK. Not a meaningful difference, but certainly a difference off of Javier and Darvish, just around 10K. Fanduel specific, I didn't say a site. And if you're going to ask questions, I'm not picking on anybody, but feel free to give more details, the better. Just makes it easier to answer questions as opposed to just kind of assuming. Montgomery is 16% on Fanduel, 9.5K. Darvish, 10.8. Javier, distinctly different. Yeah. Maybe paying up be a little different on Fanduel. While Darvish only 19% as opposed to Javier being 9.9. That's an interesting route to consider. Anything else in the chat? Naylor over Reyes is a one-off. Well, there's no context to that question, but what do you think? What do you think here, Jordan? Reyes.
Okay, I'm gonna see what the answer is. Okay, Reyes. Okay, let's take a look at Reyes.
I'm not sure who Reyes is off the top of my head.
Franmil Reyes.
Franmil. Oh, okay. Yeah, of course.
8.01. 3. He is. What is his ownership? 14 or so percent. Naylor, 7.59. So he's a half a point lower projected, but he's also slightly lower owned. Very close. But obviously one's a first baseman and one's an outfielder. So like to me personally, there are enough outfielders on a slate where if Reyes hits a home run, you could find another outfielder to hit a home run. So like if things are very close, I'd rather play the lower owned outfielder than the lower owned first baseman, because you can only play one first baseman.
So Naylor, it's probably a Fanduel question. Not to cut you off, but Naylor's a first base / outfield on Fanduel.
Okay, well, they also have a utility position, so that's obviously you can play people in multiple spots, but on DraftKings there's no utility slot. So like, I'm not a big fan of playing cheap one-off outfielder chalk when possible. You know, try not to do that on DraftKings much. Unless, hey, if you're building a national stack or something, or the Diamondbacks against Darvish, and you want to put the rest of your highest projected players, and if Franmil Reyes at 20 whatever percent owned or whatever he'll be is the highest projected, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. That's why the context matters. But in a vacuum, Reyes projects for half a point higher. Reyes is like 3 or 4 percentage points higher in ownership. So that makes up the difference in that half a point. But just from an opportunity cost perspective, like I think you could find an outfielder. There are more outfielders that could outscore Reyes than there are first basemen that could outscore Naylor.
Everybody's floor is 0, but I feel like, Franmil's floor is lower than Naylor for what it's worth. Like you're shooting for a homer with him, and, certainly he can do it, but we've seen he's had a lot of miserable games so far this year, but he does have the right pitcher throwing him baseballs tonight. I'm checking out our rankings as far as stacks. Like we don't take into account. This is myself. Keith will be on. Is it Dave Potts on later? I think it's going to be Dave Potts. If not, it's Hardy. It's Potts. Okay. Yeah, he'll be on. You know, Dave's traveled around the country a lot. I'm curious. I bet Dave's got a good take as far as like IHOP versus WAF. We'll hit him with the hard-hitting questions when he comes on because they're going to need us to kill a few minutes with him as well because they got like 40 minutes to go around the horn and wait for questions, and that's that. People just want to talk football, I think. I don't know. We'll see. Tomorrow night, football, showdown slate. Make sure to tune in for that. Sunday, if you guys aren't aware, of course, we're on air, 10:30 all the way up the lock, 2.5 hours. Myself, Bobby Gomes, and Kirkwood. We lead off at 10:30. I believe Creighton and Andre and Bimefor and special guests, rotating guests, all the way up the lock. It'll be spectacular Sunday. Cannot wait for sure.
So you got to get up early, and you have to be up late with me on Sundays.
Oh my God, it's Sunday. I'm going to be cranky. I'm going to be especially because I'm going to be losing money and tilting, and my guy didn't get in the end zone. I was robbed of this touchdown, and that was a penalty, and it really wasn't. We're going to be pretty well. We'll see. All you need is that 1 week, though, right? That 1 week blender where it pays for everything. That's what I'm told. Yeah, it should be a good time for sure. And we're doing our Twitter Spaces. Myself, Dave, and Keith, as well as Head Chopper. We did our rankings as far as stacks, and Houston seems to be the consensus. Unfortunately, we don't have the consensus done for me. I kind of eyeball it because I'm not sure if you know what's going on with it's little funky stuff on the back end. That's why we're having to make this makeshift listing of rankings as opposed to the math. But 3 or 4 of us put Houston number 1. Myself, Head Chopper, and Keith. Dave has got the Cardinals. San Diego is getting some love. Houston, Toronto, Chicago. You said Cincinnati.
Let's do it.
But nobody likes Cincinnati, Blender. I mean, come on.
I don't want people to play him then.
Are you trying to say that Dave Potts doesn't know baseball?
It doesn't matter about knowing baseball. I just care about what are they going to be on versus what the probability of success is. Yes, they're less. Yes, the Reds have less of a chance. It's not rocket science to know that, but in comparison to their ownership, it's worthwhile to play.
Do you know or any thoughts as far as? And again, I know this is like probably a question you hate, but just lineup construction wise. Which way are you leaning as far as catcher? You think you're going to flat out punt catcher?
Chucky Robinson, all my lineups. Come on, it's Chucky Robinson.
So that wasn't just like a punchline or a joke. You're being serious.
Yeah, why not? I mean, what do we have a catcher? I mean, look at the. I mean, I'm sorting by projections. I mean, other than Kirk and Rushman, I mean, they don't even project all that well. I mean, some of these 5K catchers, they project for what, 7 points? I mean, what? Is there that big of a difference between that gap and Austin Nola or Yan Gomez or something like that? No. So, like, to me, hey, why spend the money on a catcher?
Well, Gomes and Higgins
are going to do it.
They're both like 2K as well. Gomes and Higgins on the Chicago side for what it's worth. And
right.
Yeah, I mean, I might end up with, again, just get in cheap and move on. I like Rushman too, but with him roll with salary cap, and I'm not sure how much funds I'm delegating his way, especially when he's facing one of the better pitchers on the slate. Anything can happen, and like ownership's going to reflect that. But I like him on Fanduel where he's like 2.8. I mean, I'm okay playing him there. Let's see. I'm just taking a peek as far as what's going on in chat. Whatever's on your mind, chat, feel free to fire it off because we are in time killing mode already. It's 20 minutes to go, Blender.
How could you not play Chucky Robinson? He's 2 for 14 on the season with 1 home run and nothing else.
Wow, is Chucky Robinson a prospect? I don't think he is, but I could be wrong. So. But let's see. The Cincinnati Reds, like they recently did the updating, of the team prospects. And there's different places to look for these things, and you get a variety of answers. But I've been going to like this MLB.com. I don't think he's a big name prospect. Yeah, okay. Reds midseason rankings, the re-rankings. He's not in the top 5. So we're
27 years old.
Okay, so I'm going to say he's not a prospect.
No.
Maybe he once was.
Is he old enough, though, at 27? Is he old enough to stop being called Chucky and just Chuck?
Yeah, or Charles. I think, again, you call yourself what you want, I suppose, but
Charles Robinson is a wrestling referee. That's why he can't go by Charles Robinson.
It's already taken. It's already taken. I don't think
he can probably did some other Chucky with a Y, so you can't take that. So maybe you should be glad it's not Chucky with 2 E's. At least it's IE.
Are you a Chucky guy, a horror movie guy?
No. Those movies are more funny than scary.
Well, yeah, I think Chucky is supposed to be funny, right? I think so. Like,
No, it's supposed to be a horror movie.
no, but I think he always has like a quip, doesn't he?
Yeah, but Ruger did also. But I'm just talking about like the how contrived all the situations are. It's a doll. It's a plush doll. Why can't you get rid of this doll?
They keep remaking it though, so I guess it's probably cheap to make. They're not.
The doll. What? How much? It's not like the doll is contract. Is $3 million a movie for the stuffed doll. No, obviously not. It's cheap.
Did they have a famous person voice Chucky? I don't think so.
Why would they? Why would you spend the money on that? And all the other people that are the human beings in the movie always die, so it's not like you have to pay them. Oh, the guy from the first movie isn't in the fourth movie. Well, yeah, they're all dead, so you can just reproduce and put new actors in there, and it doesn't matter.
Didn't what's her name? The girl April Ludwig from Parks and Rec. She's delightful. I can't think of her name for some reason. Didn't she just remake a Chucky movie? Didn't that just happen? This is important stuff.
I don't pay attention to anything. I have no idea what's going on.
Did you watch the Parks and Rec? Are you aware of Parks and Rec?
I'm aware of that, but I'm not aware of anything past that.
Aubrey Plaza.
Thank you. I couldn't think of her name. Didn't Aubrey Plaza?
I visit. That sounds like a mall. Yeah, I visit Aubrey Plaza. Why not Adley Plaza?
It sounds like a mall.
I'm going to Aubrey Plaza, right? It sounds like you're going to like the Empire State Building. I'm going to have lunch at the park in Aubrey Plaza, right? Like that's what it sounds like.
I did see it. I randomly saw it one night, like on one of the deals, on HBO or something. Child's Play came out. I believe she survived. Spoiler alert. Chucky Robinson, by the way, 27 years old, 21st round pick, number 637 overall out of the Houston organization in 2016. I think it's fair to say he was basically never a prospect. And he probably should have done well in playing against 20-year-olds, and he didn't. He wasn't very good. So, but whatever. He's professionally trained to hit baseball. He's super cheap. I guess you can play him tonight. I would not be thrilled with the prospect of doing so. And yeah, Jennifer Tilly, she divorced the dude from The Simpsons, made a bunch of money, and then she became a poker pro, right? You were
a poker pro. Put that in quotes.
Well, yeah. I think she married a poker pro too. I can't remember the guy's name. Yeah, there you go. That sounds correct. If we're just playing Mad Libs, I'm just like throwing out premises, and you're just filling in.
Well, a good thing it's at least subjects I know about.
And yes, Jennifer Aniston was in the Leprechaun movie. Again, Leprechaun, not necessarily scary, but funny. I think it was supposed to be funny. I don't know.
No, Elf was supposed to be funny. Leprechaun is a scary movie.
No, Elf. Well, Elf is like a straight comedy. You're talking about the Will Ferrell movie?
Yeah, well, that's Will Ferrell's best movie.
Is it?
Well, to me, it is.
I think that's a bold proclamation. Really?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. What's his best movie then?
I don't know.
Well, there you go. So you can't even. You're not even. How could it be this undisputed fact
that Elf can't? Let me take it in. I think his best movie is it's Anchorman. I think Anchorman's his best movie.
Is he the main? He's not. Would you consider him the main character? To me, that's an ensemble.
Yes, he's the main character. Yes. Devin in chat saying Stranger Than Fiction. That was a weird one. I did see it, and that was pretty interesting. Everything Must Go was another weird one he did. Oh, Talladega Nights has got to be on the board. Like, you're way off.
Okay, but people are saying like Old School. Old School, he's like a supporting character.
Step Brothers is on the board. Yeah, you're way off with that. Elf is fine. Maybe best.
Maybe it's just that I don't watch dumb comedies.
Oh, come on. You can't enjoy Talladega Nights for what it is.
Yeah, well, I have better choices when I could just watch Tropic Thunder again.
I mean, how many times you got to watch Tropic Thunder?
I don't know. I'm just saying at least it's a better comedy.
It's okay, but like maybe it loses luster in the 30th watch. The chat's all
okay. Then I'll watch There's Something About Mary then.
Something About Mary. You have a very specific 2003. Elf, according to Rotten Tomatoes, is number 2. The Lego Movie, number 1. I did not see that because I'm not a child. Lego Movie 2 is number 3. Anchorman 2 is 5. What? Anchorman 2 was a disaster. That did not work for me. All right. Megamind, another kids movie I did not see. Blades of Glory, kind of underrated, I suppose. What about the basketball movie he did? Where is that in the power rankings? Did we enjoy that one where he was like an ABA owner / player? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Most of his movies because they're horrible.
Man, all right. Well, what did Will Ferrell do to you?
Nothing, just not make good comedies.
Yeah, well, he did Land of the Lost. That was just like getting a paycheck, I suppose. But I forgot there was a Zoolander too. Man,
why did they remake that movie? Why did that need a sequel?
Zoolander? Hansel's so hot right now. He's like Jose Altuve, man. He's like Louis Brinson, according to the chat. Yeah. Semi-Pro is 33, according to Rotten Tomatoes. That's egregious. What are we talking about? And yes, Michael, we're doing our best to fill in time. If you have any baseball-related questions, feel free to jump in and whatever your thoughts are as far as baseball this evening, we're happy to. Otherwise, we can just keep running down Will Ferrell movies. Semi-Pro number 33, according to Rotten Tomatoes, 22%. The House was not very highly rated. He's done a lot of movies. Oh, Holmes and Watson's the worst one. That's not a surprise, right?
No, that's not. One thing I noticed here, let's talk about baseball, like TJ Friedl at 2,200 leading off of the Reds.
Yeah.
Maybe quite a popular salary-saving one-off, just like Franmil Reyes. So, like, playing him as a one, like when I talked about before, like I'm not a big fan of playing cheap chalk outfield one-offs. I could see if you're not going to play a red stack, not playing Friedl or Reyes, or like Friedl in your lineup, I think would be beneficial. But like I'm not concerned about Friedel's ownership when I have Chucky Robinson in my lineup. When I got Spencer Steer in my lineup.
You got to get that zero locked in.
Right. When I got all the other stuff locked in, I don't care about TJ Friedl. Chucky Robinson's going to save the day regardless. So I'm just noticing that looking at the ownership that, I think Friedl, like the cheap guys, the cheaps, Friedl, Reyes, Nootbaar, Nootbaar and Donovan, because they're bat 1 and 2, 3,500, 2,800. Even Fraley to some extent at 2,800. Like, these are the types of guys that I would look to not have as a one-off in lineups, because you're going to end up with very similar constructions and combinatorics.
Oh, here it is again.
Of other lineups in the contest.
By the way, they're asking in chat about the Weather Edge tool, and I did want to check out as far as the Cubbies, and I think it's pretty much what it was yesterday, where the sample is pretty big, 176 games, and we're getting a hit as far as homers. 6 degrees as far as the wind blowing in. I don't know if that's going to sustain throughout the game. Roth talked about that yesterday, how it kind of tapered off. Maybe that's going to be the situation again, but I think this is like kind of game time deal. But we do have a hit of 24% as far as homers there, just like yesterday. And I saw Big Show Brandon talking about his Cubbies, and congratulations to you. Hopefully you won some American dollars with that. I did too. I played a fair bit of Cubs last night, and the Max Muncy one-off on Fanduel was really nice, actually. I don't know if they raised his price today. Probably not. Still probably 2.4K on the Ori slates. He banged the old double dong. But yeah, Cubbies and Cincinnati, the weather's not great there. But I still think they're cheap enough, and you can still play them, basically. And where else the slate only offers so much. You mentioned Friedl, and he was the one guy, again, when I ran those optimals, he actually hit my threshold of 54%. I think I put it up.
Very precise scientific methodology of a threshold. Yeah.
Well, 53 is not enough, but 55 is just that's too high. Yeah. So I got a very specific question for you. Ryan in chat wants to know a player at 2.5K and 2.5K for shortstop and outfield DraftKings single entry. So wait, why can't we have one at 2 and one at 3? Why are we doing it that way? Or is that two separate?
It wants it very exact. It needs to be perfect. It needs to be equal.
So Blender, this is a good time to show off our lineups page with the sliders. I don't know if Devin can pull it up or not.
I can pull it up.
Okay, so you're doing the screen share.
Starting lineups page. I could go. I'm sliding it. I'm sliding it much better than Dean would. So let's slide it all the way down to 2.5K. Yeah.
So what do we have available? And then, of course, you can click on outfield or shortstop, whichever you want to click on first. And
let me do that also. Outfield and shortstop. Okay.
It'll highlight the shortstops that are available. I'm sure it's a plethora of fabulous options.
Okay, for this slate, obviously, let's get rid of. So you got Jackie Bradley, Kyle Stowers, Terry Friedl.
Oof. Yeah.
Aquino, Barrero, Velasquez, Lane Thomas, Cesar Hernandez, Victor Robles, Corey Dickerson, Cole Calhoun, Tavares, Solak, Dubon, Straw, the whole bottom of the Royals lineup, the whole bottom of the Diamondbacks lineup, and Jose Azocar. But if we look at, we just look at projections that we have.
I forgot the Royals are playing in this slate. Like they're existing, they're there, and like nobody's gonna play them. And it's not like we're afraid of Morris necessarily. It's just noteworthy, I guess. But
there's nothing really at shortstop. If you're paying $25K or below at shortstop, that may not be the best of ideas. Because really, there's only 3 shortstops that are in the starting lineups that are under that. That's Barrero, Lopez, and Perdomo, and they're the 3 lowest projected shortstops. Now, at outfield, it's a different story. Outfield, you got Friedel, right? Reyes is past 2,500, but you got Friedel, you got let's go by point per dollar. Friedel, Velasquez, Aquino, Eaton. Yeah, you got plenty of them. This is the reason. Dean, this is what I mean by if everyone's going to Friedel and Reyes, it's like, is there that drastic of 1 point difference in is Nelson Velasquez? And it'll be lower owned. Or Aquino, who most likely will strike out 17 times today.
But when he hits baseball, it's hard. Yeah.
Right, like it seems like Cooper Hummel, Cole Calhoun you could play. Like there's a lot of people that Lane Thomas. I mean, like why are you playing the chalkiest 2K guy that's like 3 times more owned than any of the other 2K guys when the projection difference, yeah, they're higher projected, but not enough so that they should be 3 times more owned.
By the way, Hammer in chat says, myself and yourself, we don't work well together. He's not being mean, just being honest.
I think we work very well together.
What do you want us to do for an hour and a half? Can you juggle? I got the magic 8 ball if you want to ask some questions, by all means.
I got a cowbell.
I have all sorts of props. Here's Walter White. Remember him?
You seem like you don't believe that I have a cowbell.
Why do you have a cowbell out of curiosity? What's the backstory? Are you on a farm? Was this a whole setup to the whole Will Ferrell thing? I think we need more cowbell.
No, this is on the sweat show that I did 2-3 years ago. Like someone whenever touchdowns got scored, we would make a noise, whatever, and then someone suggested to get a cowbell. So I just went on Amazon and for like $15 got a cowbell.
There you go. I had no idea what the going rate was for a cowbell. That sounds about right.
Should I bring it to the Twitter Spaces then? Should I
bring all the props, man. Feel free to go all Carrot Top on me, man. We're gonna have to kill some time there as well, I'm sure. Joe in chat, shout out to Joe who won the quarter arcade. No, that's DK. The quarter tournament on FanDuel last night with a Muncie one-off 4-3 core stack with Rowdy at 0 points. Yeah, I had some nice lineups too with Rowdy at 0. But Mike wants to know. Oh, this is a great Blender question. Who's getting a homer tonight, Blender? And
I could go. What I'm going to do?
These are the 3 guys that are projected for the highest likely. Don't give me that. You use your noggin.
I don't. Why use my noggin when I got numbers? So I'm just going to go to the bat. Right.
What about a gut? You got your gut?
Look, I went to the bat projections. I'm going to sort by home run.
Yeah.
Whoever's the highest home run projection. Okay, we got. Obviously, these guys aren't even on the slate, right? You get all. Okay, let's go to this. What?
You got to get the night slate in there. You got to thin it out.
Right, 705. Okay, and let's sort by that. Machado. So basically, Machado, Seager, Goldschmidt, Alvarez, Vlad, Soto, Varsho, Reyes. But at the top would be Machado and Seager. So there you go. There you got my picks.
Are people gonna be getting Goldie in lineups at a heavy percent because he's expensive? He's pricey.
Not as much as Machado. There's more positional scarcity at third base than there is at first. I think Machado is going to be much higher owned than Paul Goldschmidt on DraftKings.
Yeah, Goldie's 6'4" over there, and I like some of the step down. Well, I like Naylor as a step down at 4K. Vladdy's not a step down, but he's cheaper at 6'1".
How about Spencer Steer of the Reds?
Can he hit baseballs? I don't really know much about Spencer Steer.
How old is this guy?
I don't know. I'm pulling him up.
Is he older than Chucky Robinson or is he younger?
He's 24 years old. He's got 50 raw power according to Fangraphs. 9th ranked prospect for the organization. Let's see. He played for Minnesota this season in AAA as well as Cincinnati. 330-ish at bats, 15 homers. little bit of power, I suppose. Not much as far as wheels or stolen bases, but he is obviously super cheap.
He's a very good driver, though.
Yeah. He's a two-sport athlete, this steer character.
He steers very well.
Yeah, no, I got it. I understood what you were doing. Tony in chat's asking about extreme umpires. I don't think there is. I remember looking earlier, unless I missed it, as far as umpire data. Yeah, there's no extremes at all. Almost every umpire actually is neutral for what it's worth. There's only one.
Whatever you say, I hear always talking about extreme umpires. Whenever I will listen to all the shows.
More than words?
Lineups, and you go extreme lineups. I just picture, it's the lineups that when they strike someone out, they put someone through a table.
I thought you're going with the band Extreme, like More Than Words, and like Gary Sharon.
No, like you're out, and here's a kendo stick to the face, like that type of stuff. The extreme.
You're watching too much wrestling these days. That's what's going on. It's infiltrating the rest of your life. Or not. Like, live your best life. Enjoy.
Right. If I was going to be a wrestler, my kayfabe name would be Chucky Robinson.
I do get the kayfabe reference. Yeah, Alex is saying hardcore umping. Yeah. My favorite umpire in the history of the world has got to be Enrico Palazzo. You know Enrico Palazzo?
Oh, of course, from the Naked Gun movies.
There you go.
Actual good comedies. Something that Will Ferrell was not in.
Oh, come on. We're going to bring the Crunch Time crew on in a second. When they jump in here, they're going to be adamant that you're wrong. But they're probably listening right now, so we're not going to talk about your favorite Will Ferrell movie, but I'm going to prompt them and ask. I'm willing to wager dollars to donuts that you'll go 0 for 3. Nobody's going to say the best Will Ferrell comedy is what you said.
Okay, so I don't mind playing a low-owned movie, though. I'm watching Elf for Leverage.
You just said the name of the movie. They're right there lurking. I imagine.
They probably were listening before anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. Jason's got a question here in chat. If you wanted to take a top starting pitcher and top bats, who is the low-priced SB2 you would take? Oh, boy.
Based on the projections, even though I'm more on the Cubs and Reds bats for the cheapness, I think playing Minor or Assad. I think that Reds-Cubs game is high variance.
Yes.
So because these are bad pitchers and bad teams, but these are at least two pitchers that can pitch 90-plus pitches as opposed to some other pitchers on the slate. So it could be that, you get a cheap stack that gives you 7-8 runs, or you get you that gives you, 20-plus points. So my attitude is that if you're not playing the Cubs or the Reds, I think playing one of those two pitchers, those would be the pitchers that I would look at.
I'm contractually obligated to give 5 pitchers that I like tonight, according to the rankings. And just because I had to put 5, Mike Minor was my 5th guy. But that's probably the guy. And I think you said it the right way. It is, he could really get his face punched in. And in theory, we've seen it before where he just implodes and gives a bunch of homers, but the Cubs aren't great. The ballpark's not great. So certainly he's also a guy that theoretically can throw 100 pitches in 7 innings. Like, he can do that too, which a lot of those other cheap guys probably aren't going to do that or even have that ceiling capability. So I see a high variance there as well. And begrudgingly, if I need to save salary, it's probably Mike Minor as my SB2 tonight. All right. So we got Dave Potts and
you can play the battery. You can play Mike Minor and Chucky Robinson.
How many combined points would you project for the battery of Mike Minor and Chucky Robinson
today?
Well, yeah. No, 3 days from this is daily fantasy sports. We care about today.
I think let's 24. and it's mostly my guy Chucky Robinson.
What's the breakdown?
Well, Chucky Robinson has a solo home run for 14 points, and Mike Minor gets you 10, right?
Did Cincinnati just play a couple? Did they play a doubleheader? Was that Cincinnati that did that recently? We got Reds gal in chat, who I would assume is an authority on Cincinnati, saying the bullpen is taxed there, and that would kind of make sense. By the way, I was looking at the Nationals bullpen. Only one lefty arm, Jake McGee. Everybody else is a righty. McGee threw on Sunday and on Tuesday. Maybe he's available today. We'll see. But basically all righties facing St. Louis. Probably subdues the chances of seeing like Pujols coming in for a pinch hit. You never really know. I'm pulling the Reds up as far as their bullpen. I want to see how beat up they may or may not be. Man. Oh, yeah. So Sunday, I think they had a doubleheader. Everybody pitched on Sunday with the exception of 2 dudes. They did not play Monday, so they all got a day off on Monday. And yesterday, 5 guys drew for what it's worth. But, okay, fair enough. You got anything else here, Blender? I think I hear a new noise, and I'm going to pull.
No, we got people in here. We got people that may like a better Will Ferrell movie.
Yeah, we got important questions, fellas. A lot came up. Yeah, we don't have time to give the summary. Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. We got Dave Potts. We got Keith Eyster. First of all, Roth, you travel around the country. You know this better than anybody. Do you have any hot takes in regards to Waffle House versus IHOP versus Denny's versus Cracker Barrel? Does anybody sort of separate themselves from the field?
Well, Cracker Barrel's a completely different establishment. These other places are like breakfast, 24-hour breakfast places. So Cracker Barrel is on its own as like a different. It doesn't belong in the same conversation.
All right.
Yeah.
Did I not prompt Dave? I think I said Roth. I meant to prompt Dave. That was on me. But I mean, I'm happy to hear your opinion too, Roth.
That was the most perfect answer. Like, couldn't be more right on that. Like, yes, Cracker Barrel, its own tier. Out of the others, you got to just go with Waffle House. Like, simple and to the point.
Keith, you got a thought in this?
I would agree with Dave on that one. It's Waffle House for me.
Wow. All right.
Waffle House is the cheap $1 cash games of breakfast places.
Yeah. Or the 2K leadoff guy.
Right. You know?
TJ
Friedel, right? That's what Waffle House is.
This is more important. Blender made a bold statement earlier in the show. I'll go to Roth in this one first. Roth, what is top of the dome? What is Will Ferrell's best movie?
Old School.
Okay.
That's not a Will Ferrell movie. He's not a main character.
Give him a second. That's the first thing he's going to follow up in another movie. It's not your movie, but whatever. You want to give it the second best, Roth?
I don't know. It's weird to be put on the spot thinking Will Ferrell movies. Now off the top of my head, I can't think of any. Give me like 4. Give me 4 and let me pick.
Anchorman. You got Semi-Pro. You got Elf. And you got Everything Must Go.
No, yeah, none of those. I'm sticking with Old School.
I feel like Anchorman is kind of the chalk.
Yes,
right?
Yes, that's what we established.
It's good chalk.
They made fun of Weathermen too much, so I don't like that movie.
Yeah.
They made the Weatherman the idiot.
Oh, I forgot Step Brothers. Didn't mean to ignore. Does that change things for you, Roth? If Step Brothers joins the conversation?
That one's up there, but no. Old School is the best movie he's ever been in.
Dave?
Oh, I was going to say Step Brothers is my favorite. I would go Anchorman and Ricky Bobby. After Step Brothers, and the sleeper great movie is The Other Guys.
Yeah, that's a sneaky good one too. I would agree, but the one that's not a sleeper, according to Blunder's right here, he says number 1, the best Will Ferrell movie is Elf, which is fine, but the best, come on, get out of town.
I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, but it's not the best. They're all amazing. I mean, he may be the greatest actor of all time. Certainly of our generation.
That's objectively. Now we're just losing our minds, I suppose. But and Keith, are you happy? If you want to side with Jordan, by all means, go for it. Don't feel pressured. But is Elf the best Will Ferrell movie of all time?
Not the best, no. Top 5 maybe, but top 3 no.
Yeah, best Christmas movie maybe for possible.
Yeah, Elf is fun because it's seasonal, so yeah, you get to enjoy it.
It's fun because it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Still, the best Christmas movie of all time, we all know, is Eyes Wide Shut. Gather the family around for that one. You got anything else for the people here before you step aside and get out of here, Blender? They're gonna go around the horn. Blender crosses his arms. We don't go around the horn. We just talk the slate in broader terms and tournament terms. But if you guys like going around the horn, we'll do it in a second. Roth will be leading that. Taking you guys straight up the lock. But Blender, what else?
Let me just jump in and say I would kind of love to see Roth try to walk Blender around the horn and just and see what would happen. Because like Kevin would just be like, and then first base, and he'd be like, I don't projections.
I just
second base.
Projections, Dave. That's all I do.
Look at
I
the projections.
still do it, but I just read
I know, but it would be glorious to watch you guys like try to work out a show together. I don't know. I just kind of want to see.
We've done it before, and it didn't go great.
I
it didn't go. It was fun. We had a good time, but I think I don't think the people got what they were looking for.
Hey,
Dave,
Rob,
my last word is that for crunch time, you got 35 minutes. If it's not occupied by at least 17 minutes of Chucky Robinson talk, I'm going to be very disappointed.
It's a great name for sure.
We killed a good 12 minutes with Chucky Robinson, the talk, which smashed the over on that. Hey, Roth, before I step us out of here, I'm obviously going to talk some weather. I don't think there's anything as far as precipitation, but we talked about it yesterday as far as the Cubbies. The Cubbies overcame whatever sort of weather. It wasn't a lot of wind, but it's Wrigley, so sometimes you overreact to it. The Weather Edge does not like the ballpark today, even though it's just 5 miles per hour. The history is like a hit of like 25% homers. Is it going to be the same deal as last night where that's the miles per hour kind of dips as the game progresses?
Yeah, and it's even starting a little lighter tonight. One thing, I kind of went on a whole Weather Edge spiel the other night, but another thing to note is Weather Edge, when it's comparing these past weather games, if you're on so it takes, let's say, 5 miles per hour higher or lower. So if you're on the lower end of the spectrum, it's pulling in these weather games that actually mattered and lumping them in. So it's pulling in these 10 mile per hour wind games, which mattered. And if we didn't do that, then we'd have no sample size and it would all fall apart and it'd be useless. But the bottom line is that if it's a 4 mile per hour wind, you don't really get any games with lower wind than that. So all you're pulling in are games with higher winds, which are more impactful. So the overall outcome will show as more impactful than it really is. Did that make sense?
Yeah, that was helpful. That's definitely good to keep in mind, obviously. Myself and Blender, we're going to yield. We're going to step aside. Anything else, the boys, Blender? You're getting out of here.
I'm good. I got to make my lineups.
All right, so do I. Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing as well. I'll be listening to the Crunch Time. Kindly hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on those notifications. If you do turn on notifications, you're going to hear a ding in 2.5 hours because I'll be talking some NFL DFS Week 1 talk with the great Rich Rebar and John Daigle. Do check out that show out at 9 o'clock on the East Coast or watch that in the replay. With that said, the Fanduel sponsor, Crunch Time. It's Kevin Roth. Take it over, Roth.
Appreciate it, Dino. Appreciate it, Blender. As always, thank you, gentlemen. It is time for Crunch Time, and it is indeed sponsored by Fanduel. Blender, you can, yeah, there we go. He was hanging out. Welcome. Joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, as always, Mr. Dave Potts, a.k.a. Cheese is Good. What's happening, Cheese?
Not much. It's good to see you again. You still look fantastic.
Thank you. For the earlier thing, I had on a suit. I had a full suit, the jacket, the tie, the whole nine. But today it's just, now you just get, this is just an undershirt. I went from full extremes here, man.
Well, I'm just honored to get to see you twice in a day. It's fantastic.
It makes for a good day, I'll tell you that. We also have Keith Eyster, a.k.a. the Iceman, joining us. Ice, how are you?
I'm well. Getting ready for this football season. Been digging in kind of to the Week 1 stuff, doing some rankings earlier today. So football is here, officially kicking off tomorrow, obviously. But
so, like, how checked out are you on baseball right now? Like, on a scale of 1 to 10 is like dead of summer, and the only thing you have is baseball. Your interest is a 10 level. Where are you right now?
So, like, on days I have content, it's really hard to be checked out. Obviously, I do all my research, and I'm still all in on those days. But like yesterday, I didn't have any content to do, so I didn't even watch a baseball game yesterday. And I'm a humongous baseball fan. Like, I'm not bored by baseball by any means, but it's a really long season. It's nice to get a couple of days off to just kind of reset the mind a little bit.
And did you play the Keiths of the world so that I don't have to worry about football at all? I can just see what he ranks and then make some lineups, and then I don't have to actually look at anything football related until October because I can have him do it. It's great.
Yeah, it is glorious. Ice, did you play baseball even though you didn't watch a single game? Did you like just dabble in some DFS anyways because you got the itch?
I put like 2 lineups into a single entry, but I didn't do my normal like 20 to 30 lineup build. Just a couple single entries.
Okay, just gauging where everybody's at in the season. Cheese, you're still full in, right? You're still like laser focused.
Yeah, I really am just all in on baseball till the end, and
right.
And yeah, I really do just totally rely on everyone else's football content until we get to October.
Right, Cheese just does baseball, then he hibernates for 6 months, and then we poke him with a stick. He wakes back up, and we do baseball again. It's glorious. Hey, let's talk weather real fast. There's no issues out there, like literally none. So I don't want to waste time talking about it because there's no issues. So let's talk about this slate. And Cheese, if you wouldn't mind giving me a general overview, that would be great.
Yeah, the general overview is there's pitching up top and nothing else. Like there's kind of 2 very obvious chalk pitchers with 2 other pretty good pitchers, and then just utter nonsense. And then there's 3 or 4 pretty good offenses with a couple of chalky-ish cheap offenses thrown in. So it's really kind of a skewed slate. Like we're playing this group of pitchers and then everything else is nonsense. And then we're playing this group of offenses. It's going to be kind of some condensed player pools and some chalk, but it's spread out enough that it's like everything is like 15% owned. Nothing's like this is 40% and this is 10%.
Okay, so you don't have to get crazy and play something stupid.
Right.
Okay, I got
Yes,
you.
it's
All
not like one of these Brewers course field slates from the last couple of days. It's more like we have like 3 or 4 teams, but they're all kind of evenly spread out, and then even the next couple teams are pretty close.
Okay, all right, good stuff. Well, let's talk about the pitchers, Cheese, and let me know what we're doing. You said it was going to be pretty condensed. I see 2 dudes with a whole lot of tags.
Yeah, that's them. It's Christian Javier and Yu Darvish, and that's, I mean, really that could be it if you can make them fit. On FanDuel, you get a $900 discount for Javier, and I think he's the top guy anyway. Projections have him up top. He's the bigger strikeout guy facing Texas. He's not quite a don't overthink it. Like, he's not just completely always safe. Like, there is a downside potential to him, but on this slate, like, he's miles ahead of everybody else. And then Darvish is next miles ahead of everybody else. On DK, you can really fit those two together. And on FanDuel, paying up to Darvish will get you a little different just because it's so much easier to fit Javier. The other 2 guys are Jordan Montgomery and Alec Manoa. Montgomery is more of a DK thing where he's 9,200. Manoa is the most expensive pitcher on both sites. And while he's good, he's not any better than Javier and Darvish. So again, Javier and Darvish, that's your pitchers. Everything else, while it's terrible, it's also cheap. If you really want to do it, the 2 pitchers in the Cubs game, Assad and Minor, are, ish. Like, neither one of them is on a strict pitch count, which pretty much the rest of the slate is. The rest of the slate, we have a bunch of guys who are going to throw 3 innings and they're bad. But these 2 guys are, at least they can throw strikes, and both teams are bad enough that they could just, give them several easy innings. I prefer Assad actually over Minor, which I think Minor will be more popular, but I prefer neither if possible. But those are the 2 cheap guys I'm willing to throw a couple darts at.
Okay, well, we did get a question already in the Discord about a Mr. Corey Abbott in a DK GPP, and as you did not name him, I assume you're not interested.
Not even a little bit personally, no.
Okay, all right. Ice, what are you doing here pitcher-wise? Are you just sticking with the 2 good pitchers and that's it, or are you getting a little funky?
I mean, it's very clear that they're the 2 best pitchers, but the ownership is coming with them. So I'm trying to do things a little bit differently. The guy of those 2 that I would prefer to fade is Darvish, just because his strikeouts have been a little bit inconsistent here this season. Instead of being above 30% where we've seen him in years past, he's been more in that 25% range. Arizona is also throwing a bunch of lefties against him. So I'll go overweight on Javier, underweight on Darvish. Manoa is the low-owned guy that I like. He's kind of in that same, just an average strikeout pitcher, not a great matchup against Baltimore. But he does go fairly deep into games. If Javier doesn't go out there and get the 9 strikeouts, Manoa can absolutely stick with Javier in raw points. So I'll play some Manoa. And then just to get a different lineup build, Javier Assad is the guy that I prefer over Minor as well. Was a guy who wasn't really on the radar as a prospect coming into this year, but saw his velocity jump up. He added a cutter as well to his repertoire. So that kind of, like, his stuff took a massive jump compared to where he's like ranked on prospect boards. There's actually a pretty decent chance he's a legitimate starting pitcher now. So we don't know a ton about him yet, but the velocity has ticked up from years past, and he's got a great matchup against Cincinnati. So I don't mind taking some shots on him just to get different.
Okay, that's your entire pitcher pool?
Yep, that's it. Even Montgomery, I'm not terribly interested in. A little bit of a savings, but Washington, despite losing Soto and Bell, still doesn't strike out a ton. And Montgomery, his first couple of starts with St. Louis, his strikeouts went way up, but he's been back down around that like 18 to 20% range over his last couple of starts too. So when pivoting off the top 2, I'll go to Manoa instead of Montgomery.
Very good. Okay, let's talk about the stacks. Ice, is it as straightforward as the pitchers here, where there's just, these are the teams?
I wouldn't say it's quite as straightforward. I think because most people are going to be spending up twice at pitcher, and just between those two, they're gonna garner the most ownership on FanDuel by a long shot as well. You're gonna see a couple of cheap teams like creep in to the higher ownership, and particularly guys in good lineup spots that are cheap. The Reds have a couple of those guys with Friedel and Fraley at the top of the order. The Cubs have several of them. So I think those two stacks are going to be probably higher owned than they should be. The top tier, the teams over 5 run totals are the Cardinals against Corey Abbott, the Astros against Cole Reagans, and the Padres against Tommy Henry. But I don't know how many full stacks of those you're going to see, because when you're paying up for 2 premier pitchers to get a full Cardinal stack in there, it's fairly difficult. And if you do that, then you're going to be playing the same cheap guys that everybody else is. So I think that's going to be a chalky construction, if you will, which is why I'm interested in playing some of the nonsense pitchers like Assad, is just to get a little bit different in that regard. But yeah, the Cardinals, Astros, and Padres I would have as the top tier just from a raw points. The Cubs I prefer over the Reds. Mike Minor's given up a ton of home runs. There's a lot of cheap punt options in the Cubs lineup. And then the Blue Jays, I think, if you're trying to pivot off of one of those top tier teams, are interesting as a lower run stack as well.
Okay, good stuff. Ice. Cheese, what are you doing here stack wise?
Same group up top: Cardinals, Astros, Padres. And just like Keith said, it is hard. You can't full stack those teams with 2 aces with all the best bats, which is good. You shouldn't be able to. But that leads to weird chalk from the Cubs-Reds game, because that's where all the cheap guys are. I'm kind of playing more mini stacks. And like I have several more lineups than usual where I don't have full stacks, because it's so chalky if you do that. And I don't feel like it's great chalk. So I would rather just do something a little different. Take 1 big bat or 2 without feeling like I need to stack around them, which then leads to you can't stack anywhere. So have some 3-3-2s and that kind of stuff. Because I just don't want to force in where I just have to play, Franmil Reyes like everybody else to fill out their lineup.
Gotcha. Okay. Should we go position by position, Cheese?
We should do that.
Okay. Start me off at catcher.
Catcher, it seems like these 2 guys play every day. Don't we talk about Kirk and Rutschman just every day? Like that.
This is the second time today we've talked about Rutschman.
Yeah. He's so good. I do like Kirk and Rutschman, and it's a spend up to be different because, like we've been saying, we're spending up for pitching. You can't spend up everywhere. I think we're going to see a lot of Yan Gomes and Austin Nola because they're cheap, and that's fine. I would play Nola as the one-off if you had it. But then, so we got 3 cheap catchers in that Cubs game. We got Gomes, we got Higgins, we got Chucky Robinson. If you need something for 2K, it's fine to just throw it in at catcher. Maybe you get a couple points, maybe you don't. But if neither of the Kirk Rutschman or one of the Royals guys has a big game, then you don't, like 2 points from a catcher is fine.
I'm sorry,
did I hear Rutschman if possible?
Did I hear you say Chucky Robinson?
Oh yeah, Chucky.
Is this what Dean was talking about?
Yeah, Blender was talking about him. He's 2K. He's minimum salary, hitting 9th for the Reds. He's not good, but his name's Chucky.
Is his name actually Chucky Robinson?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's
and when you said it, it sounded so much like Jackie Robinson that I did a double take. Like, that's just a fantastic baseball name. Chucky Robinson?
That's him, man.
Wow.
Look how
I'm
super happy. I would be super happy if my name was Chucky Robinson too. I assume that's the actual picture of him. I've never seen him before.
Yeah. Give me all the Chucky Robinson. All right. Ice, what are you doing here at catcher? You got a lot of Chucky Robinson in there?
Not a lot, but some.
Mistakes are made.
It's exactly what she said. It's Kirk and Rutschman at the top. I like the 2 Royals guys as the pivots. If you're spending up, and if you're punting, it's the guys in the Reds Cubs game. I do think that Gomes will carry a little bit more ownership than Higgins, just because he's batting a spot higher in the lineup, and he's been around for a little bit longer. But I would much prefer Higgins. Has a little bit better power profile. So if picking a Cubs catcher, I would go Higgins.
Okay, take me to first.
All right. So Vlad at the top, obviously a great option with Goldschmidt. Two of the best plays on the slate. If you're trying to save a little bit of money, I like Josh Naylor. Great matchup against Greinke for him. And I think there are some ways to save money here at first that a ton of people aren't going to do. There's some more popular plays in the outfield as punts and even in the middle infield. So guys like Will Myers, who's 3,300 on DraftKings, Spencer Steer for the Reds, hitting in the fifth hole. I don't think he'll be terribly popular. Luke Voigt at 2,900. So while I do like Guerrero and Goldschmidt, I think punting at first base is a different kind of build that I'm looking to do.
Interesting. Cheese, what are you doing at first?
Yeah, so a lot of the pricing is very different between the sites. A guy like Josh Bell at only 2,800 on FanDuel and Josh Naylor at 27 makes it pretty easy to get good first basemen. Like those guys are 4K and up on DK, and makes Goldschmidt and Guerrero and guys like that a little bit less enticing there. On DK, you're kind of going way up or way down. I love Goldschmidt, as does everyone, but it's kind of hard to fit. You can only take so many super expensive guys. Yeah, I think you can play something like Luke Voigt just because he's cheap, but I don't want to be playing Yuli Gurriel if I don't have to. Will Myers, I will play if I need to.
Okay. All right. Take me to second, Cheese.
So we get Jose Altuve kind of in his own tier, both pricing wise and production wise. So he's great, but we're running out of salary. We can't play all these guys. I think Brendan Donovan is the obvious salary saver on both sites. He's 2,400 on FanDuel and like 28 on DK. Gorman is cheap on FanDuel as well. Cronenworth will be kind of a forgotten guy, even in Padres stacks, because it's lefty-lefty and he's batting seventh. So I would want to keep him in the mix. On DK, you do have Nick Madrigal, but I mean, I would so much rather play Donovan for $400 more.
Yeah. Ice.
Yeah, Altuve at the top, definitely the top option here. I do like India a good amount. So when stacking, and if I'm using an expensive stack and you're going for cheap one-offs, I would definitely keep in mind the profile of the guy that you're using. Like, do not use Nick Madrigal as a one-off because he cannot do anything by himself. He has no home run power. He needs his teammates to drive him in. I would much rather find a little extra money and get up to somebody like Nolan Gorman, who has the potential to hit 2 home runs, than use a one-off like Madrigal. When we get to the outfield, Franmil Reyes is going to be a really popular cheap play. I don't mind using him as a one-off because he can get it done by himself with the power. So guys like Madrigal, even Donovan to a lesser extent, definitely don't want to use those as cheap one-offs to make everything work. Definitely go for the power guys when you're doing things like that.
Very good. Okay, let's go to third base, Ice.
All right. So third base, like there's enough value on the slate where you still have some money to spend up, and third base is definitely one of the places I want to do that. All kinds of upside here. Machado is probably my favorite play on the slate. Great matchup against a lefty for him. Jose Ramirez is a phenomenal play against Greinke, who doesn't strike anybody out. And he's underpriced on FanDuel. He's appropriately priced on DK at the top of the slate. But on FanDuel, he's a little bit underpriced. Really like Alex Bregman, Bobby Witt, Matt Chapman, Nolan Arenado. Like the top tier is really, really strong here at third base. So I think this is where you want to spend some money. Very
good. Cheese, what are you doing at third?
That is correct. If you can spend, you want to do it at third. Machado is also my favorite. He mentioned Ramirez is cheaper on FanDuel, as is Bregman. So I think you're fine to play those guys on FanDuel. DK wise, Arenado, Machado, Ramirez, Bregman are all 5,600 and up. So it's tough. But I think this is a place to prioritize spending over really any other position. There's cheap stuff if you need it. I guess we didn't mention Gunnar Henderson at second. The Orioles are facing a good pitcher, but I don't mind some of their lefties. He's another cheap guy you can throw in the mix.
Okay. I want to get your take on shortstop. But first, Cheese, did you know you can sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state? Take advantage of their new bonus. You bet $5. You know what you get back?
Probably way more than $5.
Whether you win or lose, you bet $5, you get $150 back, regardless of if your bet wins or loses. It's a fantastic deal. You should hit the like button just for that. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. Make sure you sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. That's a good deal. Cheese, do we have a good deal at shortstop?
We do. FanDuel in particular, Kim and Pena are both 2,700. Kim is leading off for one of the best offenses on the slate, and Pena is hitting second for one of the other best offenses on the slate. And the other best offense on the slate, hitting second, Brendan Donovan. So you have the three best teams, all with shortstops at the top of the lineup. And they're cheap on FanDuel. And I don't think this is a slate you need to prioritize guys like Bichette or Seager or Witt. It's fine to be different. But those three top guys are just great plays on FanDuel for the price. On DK, they're more like over 4K, Kim and Pena. And then Donovan is not a shortstop. So Nico Horner becomes more of the cheap guy there at 3,500. I have a couple lineups where I ended up punting with Jose Barrero. That's like the Chucky Robinson thing at catcher. It's like at some point you might just need a 2K guy to make everything else work, and you just hope he gets a couple points.
Okay. Also a good name, by the way, Jose Barrero.
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, Ice shortstop. What do you like?
Yeah, Pena is my favorite of the tier that Cheese mentioned. 2,700 for the Astros. He's been really good against lefties this year. I do like Nico Horner a good amount, especially on DraftKings where he is the cheapest of the bunch. Ahmed Rosario is also cheap on FanDuel. I don't mind him batting second. He's priced way up on DraftKings, but just 2,300 on FanDuel. So great price for him there. Let's see. Gunnar Henderson has shortstop eligibility on FanDuel. So I do like that call from Cheese. Just a guy who's far more talented than his salary. Let's see here. Tommy Edman is probably the Cardinal that nobody's going to play just because he's overpriced and he's batting ninth. So pivoting off of Donovan to Edman, just a way to make your Cardinal stacks different.
Okay, excellent. Take me to the outfield.
All right. So I think the punts are kind of where we need to lead the conversation here because this is going to be where most people are punting. You've got the Reds guys, Friedel and Fraley, who are really cheap, both batting in the top four of the order. Lars Nootbaar is still really cheap, leading off for the Cardinals. Cheaper on DK than he is on FanDuel.
Who is it that's cheap, Kevin? I didn't hear who he said. Who's cheap?
Nootbaar is cheap.
Excellent.
Cheese.
Yes. And then Franmil Reyes for the Cubs, hitting fourth. Really cheap, both sides. Donovan has outfield eligibility as well on DK. A couple of the other guys I'm looking at, Seiya Suzuki is one of my favorite Cubs bats. Got to spend a little bit more to get him on DK, but still totally fine there. After kind of a slump to the season where he was striking out a ton, he's really turned that around over the past couple of weeks. His strikeout rate has been under 16% over the past 2 weeks. Great option there today against Minor. If I had to pick a single Cub to hit a home run, it would be Suzuki. Tyler O'Neill is a great option for the Cardinals. Both of the Astros guys, certainly excellent spots for them as well, even though they're lefty. Alvarez and Tucker, they've handled lefties throughout their career. And I do like the Toronto guys as well. Springer would be my favorite option there.
Okay. Cheese outfield.
You covered all the names pretty good. I think the big thing to point out is pricing differences between the sites. You know, like Suzuki will be good chalk on FanDuel, but not so popular on DK, while Reyes is cheap on both. Like O'Neill's easier to fit on FanDuel. Nootbaar is cheaper on DK comparatively. What I don't know is, like, we're showing pretty high ownership on Soto and Alvarez. I don't really think that happens, partly because they're lefty, but more just because they're expensive. I don't think anyone's playing those guys outside of stacks. They're always viable to play just because they're good. But as far as prioritizing spend ups, they're kind of bottom of the barrel. So I don't think we really see big ownership on those guys. Punting in the outfield will probably be the go-to strategy.
Okay. All right. Any other names you want to throw in, Cheese? I'm sorry.
I think he named all the key guys. Yeah.
Corey Dickerson is another punt for the Cardinals that I missed. He's super cheap. And then one of the Cubs that nobody's going to play is Nelson Velasquez.
Yes.
Everyone's playing Franmil ahead of him. Velasquez has a decent power profile as well. He could certainly hit a home run today. So I like him as a pivot if you're looking for a cheap Cub.
The other thing I want to mention is Cedric Mullins on FanDuel. I mentioned a couple Orioles lefties here and there. Manoa is really more just okay against lefties, and I don't mind these guys.
Okay, excellent. Let's see. We got plenty of time for some QQs, but first, Cheese, one stack to take down a tournament. Where are you going?
So I'm just going to say all three of Cardinals, Houston, Padres are just a little too chalky to say you're going to win a tournament, and I'm going to say Baltimore.
Okay. Ice?
I'm going to say Cubs, but not the popular Cubs like Franmil Reyes and Nick Madrigal. I'm going to say it's done with like PJ Higgins, Nico Horner, Seiya Suzuki. So a little different mix of Cubs than what's popular.
Okay, very good. Let's see, kind of catching up on some QQs, and let's get to it. We've got about 8 minutes left. I did get tagged here in a weather question. Chinatown says, hey, what's the Wrigley situation? Weatherez says it is a slight bump down. Last night you added the caveat that it's going to change. It's the same. It's very similar to last night where it's light winds anyways, even to start, and then they decrease throughout the game. And Weather Edge is taking the winds at the start. For most of the game, they will be even lighter than the 5 or 6 miles per hour. And what I mentioned off the top of the show was that we pull these buckets plus 4 mile per hour on either end. You're not going to find games with 1 or 2 mile per hour wind. It just doesn't happen. So basically all the games that it's pulling from have higher wind than the actual game tonight, which means the Weather Edge stats will be more inflated than what they really truly will be. Does that make sense, Cheese? I feel like
it really does. It really does. Yeah. So essentially what we're trying to say is just pretend it's neutral weather. Essentially, it's closer to neutral weather, and I would not consider it a big downgrade to bats.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Yes,
you're trying to say it all scientifically, but
right. I was trying to explain the why, but that's what I'm trying to say. Is
that's the bottom line. It is essentially just neutral weather, and it's fine to play bats, fine to play pitchers, whichever you would like in a neutral setting.
Wonderful. Okay, let's get some of the non-weather QQs going. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit here. FanDuel's single entry, your favorite pitcher, and Ice. I know the answer. It's one of the top guys, but it's not Yu Darvish. It's the other top guy.
Yeah, Christian Javier is kind of a tier of his own tonight. Like nobody has a strikeout rate to match him. So I know he's popular, and that's never a great answer. But it's Javier first. If I was pivoting off of that, it would be Alec Manoa.
Okay, great. Little bit. Cheese, do you like a red stack to be different?
Sort of. They're definitely on the board. Yes. Like I think there's no reason they should be so much less popular than the Cubs. It's a similar spot. So yeah, I don't mind it.
All right. DK Cash, Cheese, I'm coming right back at you here. Gurriel, Altuve, or Goldie Donovan?
I would Goldie Donovan.
Great. NBA DFS says FanDuel Cash, Machado, Happ, or Soto and J-Ram? Ice, Machado, Happ, or Soto, J-Ram?
For Cash, I'd go the second one.
Okay. Aside says FanDuel Cash, 2v2. Ice doubling up on you here. Franimal Tucker or Rosario Alvarez?
Which format was that? Sorry.
This was FanDuel Cash. Franimal Tucker or Rosario Alvarez?
I'll go the second one there.
Okay, great. Jay says, Cheese, are the Cardinals going to be too chalky in DK single entry? I'm going full 5-man. If so, which kind of stack would you go with there?
I mean, they're going to be pretty chalky. But too chalky, not necessarily, no. Like, I really do think it's going to get spread out amongst those top teams. So if you like one definitely better than the others, I think you're okay with them.
Okay. Do you have a preference here as to how to build that stack? Is you got something sneaky or just whatever works?
My preference would be, just do one swap, like, Machado instead of Arenado. Or do a 4-man. Like, I don't think you have to I mentioned this at the top. I have a bunch of ones that aren't quite 5-man stacks because just that one little change makes it less chalky.
Okay, great. Luke Cage says, great explanation, Rob. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. Raymond, FanDuel GPP, Ice. This one's for you. Soto and Gorman or Yordong and Friedel?
I'll go the first one today. I think Gorman is going to be under-owned because he's more expensive than Donovan and Edman and some of the other guys. But Gorman is a guy I really like tonight.
Friedel sounds like a German treat I would get at a county fair.
It sounds delicious too.
Yeah. Like, oh, would you? Oh, like my Oma would ask me if I wanted a Friedel, and I do. DK Cash, geez, best outfielder, 3,400. I've already got Reyes.
Let me scroll that one then. 34 less for Cash. Did you say?
Yeah, 34. DK Cash, best outfielder. I've already got Reyes.
Newt Bar's one too much. I would go with Will Myers then.
Okay, excellent. Going to jump on over to the YouTube real quick here. Hey, Derek Waters says, Ice, is Boba Fett staying hot?
Yeah, he's hit, 4 home runs in the last 2 games or something like that. So, yeah, he's hot. He'll do it again.
Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, TJ had mentioned on the show last night, he's like, this dude's a streaky hitter. So I'm going to ride the streak. And I guess the streak is still going. Steve says, DK Cash, Cheese, this one's for you. Prato or Steer?
This is Prado.
All right. Cheese, right back at you. Do you like Mullins or Quan more?
I like Mullins better.
Very good. DK Cash, Ice, this is coming to you. Vladdy Massey or Steer Altuve?
Steer Altuve.
Great. L21 says, hey, Roth, the Padres are showing plus 31% for home runs. Great hitting weather. Please confirm. It should be. There's a massive heat dome out west. So, yeah, all those West games should be good, although I think they all really sucked this afternoon. But, yeah, in theory, they're good. Let's see. FanDuel GPP, Cheese, how bad is it to play a low-owned one-off from the bottom of the order rather than a 4 to 6 hitter, i.e. Justin Sider?
Don't worry at all about if it's bottom of the order. Like, you worry about, can the guy hit a home run?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can Justin Sider hit a home run?
Who?
Justin Sider? Oh, man. I got again. How do you guys come up with such clever names? Like, I swear to God. I think
like, that one was good enough for a second. I'm like, is there somebody that I don't know who's playing?
I was wondering how many times he was going to say it before he got on.
It's just, you would think I've heard them all by now, but I haven't. They keep coming with really clever ones. Like, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it takes
I have not heard that
creativity at this point to
you're not going to get
to make it sound
over.
like a real name. Like, that sounds like a real name for a second.
Yeah, that's
and the first time you said it, you paused between after Justin, so it's like I didn't catch it right away, but the second time I definitely heard it.
That's good. Like, I'm not even mad. It's just a good one. Good job. All right, Beast Mode says FanDuel single entry. Ice, Goldie O'Neill or Springer Machado?
Springer Machado.
FanDuel GPP, Cheese, Hap or Suzuki is a one-off?
Suzuki.
Right off the top of the show, too, I was talking about Anchorman. I said, someone quoted this. I hate that they make the weatherman look stupid. And then I'm over here reading Justin Sider 3 times out loud. I guess I've earned that one. If you can only have Cheese, if you can only have 1-4-4 on FanDuel, would you rather Padres Guardians or Blue Jays Astros?
Blue Jays Astros.
All right. Michael says on FanDuel in a GPP, Ice, do you like Suzuki or Franmil? You mentioned you were okay with Franmil, but do you like Suzuki more?
I do like Suzuki more, yes.
Very nice. All right. We got less than a minute until lock here. We actually have caught up on all the questions, real names and fake. Yeah. Just waiting for someone else to give me a fake name. I'm always on. After I get caught by one, then I'm on alert. It messes up the whole rest of my show because every name I like triple analyze to make sure I'm not getting got again.
At this point in the year, you've heard most of the names, although some rookies are coming up. But
yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just feel like there's no, I already caught most of these. All right, hey, guess what, guys? We hit the lock. We gave the info. We gave the weather. I got on a wonderful fake name, and I think that's a pretty good way to end things. So, for Cheese, for Ice, and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.